Hello, hello. Welcome. Hello to everybody on planet Earth that's watching. All 10 of you. Happy Wednesday / Thursday, wherever you be on planet. Appreciate you guys being here. It is November 1, Pacific Coast time. And as you can see here, we are live back in the studio. That's it. That's the whole show. I'm kidding. I do have to, there is one thing while you guys come on in. There'll be greetings for 10-15 minutes or so. If you're new to the stream, welcome. Let us know where you're at in the world, how's it going, weather-wise, everything like that. Have a little chit-chat, have a little social chatter. The reason being is the building is doing an insurance inspection today, and there will be humans walking through my front door here probably within the next 10 to 15 minutes. I tried to reschedule them. They're in the building 12 to 2 p.m. my time, and we start at 12 p.m. and they could not reschedule, at least in terms of inspecting the unit. They do that for like fire alarm, code safety stuff on a regular basis. So just be prepared. There might be some people and humans. You might see me look up and go, hello, come through. I've set it up for them so they can inspect my unit, my apartment easily. But anyway, that'll add to the show, right? We always hear a little bit of fun at RSP. But what do we got? What's everybody doing? What's happening here? Mr. Robbie says, oh yeah, Mr. Japan. He's snoozing. Yeah, I hear you, brother. Yeah. David, hello. It was nice to meet you recently. And what are you doing here? You joining later? You're still on the road. Okay, sweet. Time change, right? So my boys in the UK / EU, do I have that correct? It is 7 p.m. in the UK and 8 p.m. for most of Europe, Western Europe, I think, right? And then into 8 p.m. for Eastern Europe, moving that way. I think I've got that right. And I think south of the equator time changes pretty soon, maybe next week or something like that, I heard too. So I'm trying to keep pace with that. I forgot all about that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. I think the US one, we're not until the end of November, I think, when we switch our clocks. But anyway, welcome. Aussie Stu says hello, Nog in the Nog. I appreciate you reminding me every day. Because I don't feel it, sir, that is for sure. TJ Box says good afternoon. And Bert McFerrin says good afternoon from Texas. How is it out there in Texas? What part, Bert? I think you're a new name, at least to the stream. Assuming you're a football fan. I'm a big college football fan, Bert, so I'm always paying attention to what's going on in the glorious state of Texas, because they are a football country sometimes, half the time, most of the time. Even though I think Oklahoma got pinched, to be fair. Nick Buckle, there you are, buddy. How are you, man? Good to see you. And where's my bro? I see Steven. Thank you, bud. I see you. Steven Corbett, and everyone says good evening. So I have a couple Stevens in chat. Hope you had a great trip and a fantastic time. I don't know, I think they might be texting me that they're coming soon. So yeah, again, just a reminder, there'll be a building inspection. You'll hear, I told them to be quiet. I mean, I asked them nicely, of course, but MSN Scale Modeling says hello, good evening, good afternoon from NorCal, Regular Bear Minis. Good to see Brian, right? That one's Brian. Some of you guys, I'm trying to remember whose name's who. 2FS, the man of the hour, the superstar. Came and went like a blur. Chicago will never be the same. AIM-9 model says hello, chilling in Mobile, Alabama. A little cool here, yeah. As you can see here, we got a pinch of blue sky up in Portland, wherever that is, up here somewhere that way. So yeah, we've got our with Halloween in Portland, almost on the money every year. Just when winter hits. Kind of goes from a cool fall to a drop in winter time. So we're going to get into freezing temps here pretty soon. Armorman says hello from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, if I'm probably butchering your name. Murfreesboro, is that right? Murphy, are you free? You free out there in Tennessee? Oh man. I did love, by the way, speaking of football, the best throwback uniforms in a long time were the Houston Oilers playing on Sunday. I was a little bit bummed that they didn't save the Houston Oilers throwback uniform for tomorrow night's game with Pitt, which is my team. And the Steelers and Oilers were classic 80s, 90s rivals back in the day. They still are, but I mean, just seeing those two uniforms would have been epic in my opinion. So I was a little bit bummed about that. But Doug Lillard says hello from North Carolina. First, last. Very nice being able to catch this. I hope we're all in the middle for you, brother. Steve's got snow, yes. And so because I'm on the sports theme, I don't know if you guys caught the games last night at Mac College games were full snow bowls. We had a couple snow bowls over the Saturday and Sunday weekends too, which is pretty fun. So it's always good to watch sports in the snow, because there's Schubert, Mr. Sebastian down in San Diego, who never sees the snow. Right? Fred, good evening, buddy. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Armor Man says working on his new Audi R8. Okay, nice. Is Nunu a kit, or are you like 1-to-1 on that? I'm not up on my car stuff in terms of scale modeling. I'm thinking Nunu is a resin or something like that. I hear people in the hallway, so they'll probably be coming through pretty soon. James Alexander says, hi. What's up, man? How are you, bud? Mike Parkinson says, hello from the UK. Love to see you, meet you at SMC. Good to see you too, Mike. It was great to meet quite a bit of you guys. Martin James says, good to see you, mate. And Stephen Howard says, yep, 8 p.m. in Germany. Thank you, sir. Paul DeToe from Kansas. Awesome. I think you guys have a big one this weekend, too. You're just getting sports talk right now. And again, I'm just kind of killing a little bit of time with greetings. We will have an apartment inspection team coming through my unit here in a second, so they will probably, disrupt my train of thought. So I'm just going to let it roll for a few minutes. So hang in there. We'll get to the show. We have a ton to talk about. As you can see on screen, I've got a bunch of stuff in front of me here. We'll be walking through Patreon stuff. We'll be walking through sample stuff. We'll be walking through printing news, book news. We'll be walking through, we've got Airbrush giveaways, by the way, BTW, if you weren't aware. I've been working closely with Gaahleri here in the last couple of months, and they've sent me some extra samples, and I just felt, instead of having, half a dozen airbrushes now from them, I felt it better probably to toss a few your guys' way. So we're doing a giveaway here shortly. We'll start off with we'll just go in order, kind of like a 39. And then probably a 98 and probably a 68. So I've got one of each of them from their newest production grouping that they've done, and I'll explain what they've done as we get into that. We'll start the show with the giveaway first, so give me a few minutes again. Give me another 10, 15 minutes. Relatable, Corey Jesus, what's going on? I needed one more ad. Hey kids, coach on the clock with the lost like Officer Mike. Yeah, Mike will show up pretty soon. I'm sure he'll roll through. Regular Bear Mini says, I just assume the time change happens every Sunday until it does. I'm with you, man. Especially as now up northern climates, it's already starting to get dark, like at 6 o'clock or whatever here. So Jeff Longman says, hello, what's up, brother? Armor Man Boomer. Okay. I'm not picking up what you're throwing down, Armor Man, but that's okay. I'm an old man. It's okay. Even though Nog always tells me I'm not. Dave Crease says hello to everybody and all the RS peers, and Greg Mix says hello from Atlanta. How are you, sir? Clocks change this weekend in do they? Okay, interesting. In US. Okay, thanks for the heads up on that, Corey. Soviet Kitten, same here. Long, warm fall, then bam, boom, winter. Yep, that's about how it goes, Matt. Right? And we're just dive right in. University of Houston got a cease and desist from NFL for the Oilers-inspired jersey. Oh man, it doesn't end, does it? Just we can't figure this out anymore. Joshua Murphy says, "What a player! How are you, brother? Good to see you." Football talk. I'm going to go downstairs and get myself some adult beverage. I love it. We could talk the other football if you want. I don't know anything about what's going on. I mean, I see a little bit of the news. I know Messi won another award. I heard that one. That was kind of fun here in the States too. I mean, I guess the reality is, we like it when that kind of stuff happens. Messi coming to Miami and playing well and doing good for that team. That was pretty cool, fun to see. Hello from Londonderry, Northern Ireland. Hello, Ryan. Good to see you, man. David Farrow. Hello. We got two of Davids in here today. Okay, sweet. Usually we get some Daves and Davids, but we have some Davids. Danny says, good evening from Luxembourg. Yes, very nice. That is one of the few countries, well, not one of the few countries, it is one of the countries I have visited in Europe. As if you're anywhere near the western side of Germany, which is where my ex was from and her family was from in Trier, we drove across to Luxembourg a few years ago back when I visited. It was pretty fun. Nice little place. Really, really liked it. Yeah, Nunu makes, thank you, brothers. Thank you, Stephen Howard. Appreciate that. Yeah, I thought that's what it was. I just wasn't quite on point with that. Resin? 3D printed? Injected? Nunu sounds like a resin company to me. Unless I'm just missing my boat. How about your Lions, brother? No, go TJ, go. Yeah, I mean, other than that one kind of hiccup of a game, which is totally cool. Outstanding play from the Lions. Lots of walking, getting our steps in. Nice. That's good. Yeah, especially what is that Zarzeki? Uphill both ways in the snow. Yeah. You're welcome, Steve Jones. Good to whatever. No worries. Snow, Aussie Stew. Man, I live in the subtropics and wish I knew what snow was. Yeah, it's a thing. Our sunny beach weather gets boring. I grew up in Los Angeles, Aussie Stew, and when I moved to Portland, one of the nice perks of it was we have 4 seasons here, and that is kind of fun. It's kind of nice, even though growing up on the beach is its own reward. Josh Coffey says, new to the stream in your work, looking forward to learning anything I can. You got it, Josh, and you are welcome. We have been talking about brushes and paints and some other stuff, and you can always welcome to anybody here. If you're new, throw the word question up. If you have a question about anything regarding, kind of scale modeling, RSP, et cetera, happy to help in any way we can. Try to work through everything. today we're gonna, let's see, I've got a bunch of stuff in front of me model wise. I have the Super Churchill. I do have the Cromwell, which is in desert, and I do have the Hetzer Jagdpanzer 38Ts back there. I have a special piece for the end of the show, so Brian, if you're around, do try to stick to the end. Brian, 40K Brian, you know what I'm talking to. Remind me it's in front of me. I can spray that up. I've got everything I need to do some spraying for that. In terms of, I think I mentioned in the thing, I had a request for black armor in terms of tank stuff, so 40K tank stuff, so I'm going to do a little bit on the end of the show for that. But other than that, we'll probably get into, where are we at? Only 10 minutes in? Okay. I'm hoping they show up soon. What I want to do is I want this inspection team to come in and come through and get done, and then we can get into the show a little bit better, but that's okay. Fred says, I love Tria. Wayne Betty says, hello. Hello, Wayne. How are you, sir? The Hobby Shack. Hello from the guys from Paris. Okay, very nice, Frederic. Hello, hello. I'm assuming it's my boy, Frederic, who was in Paris for Halloween. Good to see you. Steve, winter is great when it's sunny and there's snow, but depressingly dark, rain, and cold November. Yeah, I hear you, Steve. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and start rolling a little bit just because I don't have anything, freewheeling to go off of for the first few minutes here. Again, we do have, I'm hoping, I did get a text message, but I don't know if I can I see it on the phone? No, it didn't come through on the phone. I thought I heard a text come through that they might be here. And I did hear voices. I hear voices. There is always that, right? Question, Josh Murphy says, where is a good place to find reference pictures of aircraft? Well, I'd say the internet, but that's just being mean. No, you're fine. F4F Wildcat, everything Google brings up, either museum quality and actual models. Well, you're going to have to start with probably building some form of library if this is something you want to take a little bit further, Josh. There's, I don't think Dana Bell's done anything recently, but there's a number of aircraft publishers that handle a lot of like quick reference stuff. And I'm throwing off the top of my head, like, was it Scale Detail? I'm probably wrong in this stuff. Some of these older ones. There's plenty of books on Wildcats. You can even do an eBay search of like just F4F Wildcat. Because I'd get a few books. You're going to need some few books on the Navy during the first part of the war in the Pacific. And if you're doing Pacific sub hunters and stuff Atlantic sub hunters and stuff like that, you can find. It's not that hard, to be honestly, Josh. There's Google is Google, but click images, and I'd probably do it right now, but you're asking me on a very, very specific thing, so not prepped on my Wildcat stuff in a second. That said, it shouldn't be too terribly hard, but definitely, Squadron Signal would have some stuff, some quick, easy books, $10, $15, $20 books like that to get you started, because they will have some combat stuff. They'll have some background information on usage by the various, besides the Navy. Did anybody else? Yeah, the Brits use them and stuff like that. So there's going to be a few. Hashtag Wildcat on Instagram. I don't know if it works I don't know how the hashtags work on Facebook anymore, but I'd hashtag Wildcat on Instagram and see what comes up. F4F Wildcat. There are probably quite a few. I know I see a lot of stuff daily in terms of kind of just World War II stuff on Instagram. In terms of good archive stuff, people putting up stuff all the time. TJ Box says, oh, nice, that will be very helpful. Yeah, that's something I would need a little bit more prep on, Josh, to help you with specifics on something specific to a very specific aircraft right now. I just don't have anything in front of me. But yeah. Going to be painting. Oh, I got you, TJ. Yeah, Master Dark Purple for UC versus A. Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I get it. Privet, Ross, how are you? Unusual early stream. Yeah, I shifted to this time frame, Ross, a few months ago because it just fits kind of for me to hit most of planet Earth. And I think, I'm not sure what time it is for you over there, but I think it's probably not terrible. 9 p.m. maybe for you, Ross, maybe 10. I'm guessing. M3 Tall Pig, is that right? Model Pig, I'm guessing with it. Yeah, no, finally got to live stream. Hey, Mike, hello. I am well. Sitting at your bench with your stream playing as I work. Keep up the great stream. Thank you, sir. The walk around section of scale mates is great for tanks. Not sure about aircraft. Thank you, Josh. The other Josh. Yeah, no, just keep, anybody with Wildcat references, pop them out to Joshua Murphy, throughout titles or whatever. Good books are always probably the prime source. I would recommend that. If you're taking it, to the next level, you should have at least one or two good books in detail. So was it Detail and Scale? Thank you, Jesus Christ, brain. Detail and Scale will have some good stuff. Squadron, and these are all like very affordable type books. I don't think there's any real heavyweight books on Wild. I don't know if Dana Bell ever did anything. I have his Corsair stuff, but I don't think he did anything on the Wildcat. I could be wrong on that though. Calmback would be another resource. They're a book publisher in the U.S. They do a lot of reference research books. Look at Casemates. That's another good reference source. As my brain's coming online, Joshua Murphy, look at Casemate. They're one of my distributors, and they have just a massive reference section of stuff from everybody. There is definitely, for example, they have lots of books, I think from Osprey and some of the other publishers that do that kind of smaller pamphlet booklet, like on Solomon's campaign, Pacific War theater stuff, Japanese aircraft versus U.S. aircraft, which would cover all the Wildcat stuff and things like that. So that should be another good pointing. Life magazine, just throw some stuff around for you guys just to pitch this up. Is there any acrylic thinners that will work with for airbrush? Acrylic thinners? No, just stick with theirs, Sebastian. I just, at this point in time, after 5-6 years of doing this with MMP, don't try to band-aid it with something else. Just get their thinners and use their thinners. Createx will work too, because Createx is a manufacturer, so you can use your stuff. It might be a little bit more available in terms of finding it if you're having trouble finding it, but no, I wouldn't. And besides water, water works fine, but if you're trying to get that paint to work well, just stick to their thinner. I'm not even going to get into trying to band-aid it because I don't do it that way. That's another thing too with advice is if I don't really do that process, then it's not something I'm going to be able to give you, information on. I'm sure there are other ones out there that probably do, but again, I stick to the ecosystems. I tend to not have too much trouble with that. Wayne Vandy Osprey books are good. Yeah, Osprey would be available, I think, on Casemate too. So if you need like a single source purchase, Josh Murphy, that would be a good one, Casemate. Just casemate.com. They're in the US and UK. Marcin says, hi Marius. To Marius, Isan, hello, how are you, brother? Hello, peeps. Question, any specific reason you use over after some? Yes, Josh Coffey, that's actually a really good question. Ouch. That hurt. Aerosol, pre-pressurized. You get a consistent spray from this each and every time. This will last you also, by the way, like a long time. If you don't have hair like me, this will last you a very long time. And if you don't have a wife that steals it, this lasts even longer. This is actually only the second big can of hairspray I've ever purchased in the 17 years at Hairspray that Phil Statinkas introduced to us in 2006 and 2007. Those that know, because I've been talking about Phil for the whole time. Hairspray. Yeah. So the purpose of this is that it's consistent and that you can manage that consistency into a reliable form of application. The negative of the chipping fluids, there is some pros and cons of each. The pros and cons would be for hairspray, it's consistent, it's reliable in terms of pressure. So if you kind of master the distance pressure conversation and spraying like how thing you do, you'll get a very consistent application each and every time once you kind of get the muscle memory going. With chipping fluids, you have to airbrush them. And airbrushing a clear liquid is probably one of the harder tasks in the hobby in terms of how much quantity is going down to where you can gauge that reliably each and every time. That's the difference maker there, because that becomes a much more challenging situation if you're not exactly on point with that as you do that, especially if you only do that once in a blue moon, and you're not practicing and testing like coach tells you to do beforehand to kind of get your muscle memory up to task. So that's why hairspray I find to be an advantage. The negative of hairspray is the alcohol, especially with the water-based paints today that we're starting to really break them down. We went through a whole bunch of that a couple years ago with MMP and trying to troubleshoot that, and that's really the one thing. If you are on the mission train, hairspray is probably not a very good idea for you. We actually, in fact, my boys in stream here, we just did a whole thing on coaching with hairspray with mission, and it's a complete failure. So if you are on that kind of conversation, but remember too, all the other acrylics, water-based acrylics, can be affected by alcohol in this and break it down. So I would recommend the chipping fluid because it's water. I think VMS and Vallejo and everybody makes water. And I know Tamiya just introduced a chip and liquid, and I don't know what it is. I've actually got one on order coming in to see what that's all about. Because anytime somebody like it, Tamiya does something new, it's worth to kind of at least inspect it. Jeff does, I lie, I'm bald. Yeah, we're all bald, right? It is kind of the nature of, hello, Scotty Scale Studio says, good afternoon, friends, and certainly Coach Rinaldi. Delay is horrible, okay. Yeah, because Corey, you're always driving around in the middle of nowhere, so that makes sense. The availability is an issue. Sorry, Sebastian, you have your thingy backwards. I always call you Schubert first. eBay, you'll find it on eBay. It's all over eBay in terms of if you need any of the mission products. Honestly, any kind of the chemical stuff in the United States, particularly because of the way kind of how the hobby networks work, a lot of hobby shops sell on eBay, either /Amazon or eBay. You can almost find everything anytime. There's very rare that you can't find anything like that through eBay or Amazon in terms of like, thinners and paint, stuff like that, at least in the States. Armorman said, just tried a primer from Ammo called Titan Primer, a must try. Sweet. Question, MIG put out a railroad line of acrylic paint. Any information on that? How are they? My interpretation of the rail stuff, and I don't know, so this is just conjecture because I don't have it in front of me, is just it's repackaged stuff to tailor to the rail guys. It's all their regular paints. What MIG has done, though, is put out the new Atom line of paint and the Cobra line of paint for cars. I do believe that is a direct market reaction to Mission models. I don't know if it's organic, but I do believe it to be a specific reaction to the Mission models quality and spray quality that's provided by that brand of paint. Yeah, so Steven brings up a good point on chipping fluid. I'm sorry, to finish that one off as I get my brain twisted up here. Chipping fluids, because you have to airbrush them, they come in various viscosities from the different manufacturers. Some are a little bit thinner, some are a little bit thicker, and you do have to, I do find that it helps to thin them down, but again, you're dealing with recipes per chipping fluid. You get in kind of the specifics of that. What happens is you start introducing a ton of other variables to the process. So I tend to lean on hairspray first and foremost for the simplicity, reliability, consistency with the whole process through and through. It's rare that I really screw up a hairspray level of application, whereas chipping fluid is still a little bit hit and miss unless you do it a lot. But yeah, they will all work pretty much fine. And in any conversation, the chipping fluid being water-based won't break down certain brands of paint. Hairspray can, so you just have to be aware of it. Just as long as if you know, you know. That's how that works. Matt Reeves says, what's up, coach? Doing OPR on Iraqi Alpha 1, AFU 1. GCT, yes, that is a really cool vehicle. It's the French 155 howitzer on the MX-30 chassis. TJ, it's rough. I don't even have a hobby shop in my city. Yeah, we don't have one here either, by the way. I think we used to have a rail shop, but I think it's even closed too. A lot of the West Coast, the only stuff we have here, there's some, I think it's with Hobby Zone or one of the chains up in a little bit north of us. There's one or two left from those guys, and there's a couple down in the West Coast, Los Angeles area. But yeah, it's a dying breed for sure. TJ isn't Michigan Toy Soldier. Yeah, you guys. There's that. Yeah, Michigan Toy Soldier. Matt is not. That is not a T-55. Yeah, right, Cliff. Like, what's he doing? Well, it's Iraqi. I think Matt Reeves is on that. Is still that he's going to go through the whole list of stuff. Okay, I don't know what's going on with this inspection team. I don't know if they're here or not. I have to get on with the show. All right, so let me switch. Get my face out of here, or at least big face. Do it a little face. Oh, what do we got? Get this out of my way. Okay, let me walk through this, and then we'll do our first giveaway on an airbrush. So give me about 5-10 minutes on this, and then we'll do a first airbrush giveaway. And then what I'll do is I'll hop onto one of these models here and see what we can kind of get accomplished today with that. And if you have any requests or anything, because it is kind of it's armor weathering, but I mean I'm capable of airbrushing and then chipping and then OPR pigments all kind of in the same routine today. But we'll start with the big dog, this guy. Now what are we doing? Let's get over here, switch you over to here to this camera. There we go, that's a little better. Okay, and then probably pull this over here a little bit more. Here. Okay, how's that? Everything look good? There you go, a little bit brighter. All right, SMO4. So, as I mentioned before, or those of you that were around, unfortunately, this got hung up in concept. Everything that I was trying to do to get this promoted in hand at SMC, it did not arrive. It actually arrived in time. If you hadn't heard the story, I was actually landing basically. British Air bumped their flights, and I couldn't do the power of attorney to release it out of UPS to get it delivered to my friend in Belgium where I was being hosted with to get this package of delivery stuff in time for the morning of, which was 4 hours away for us, getting up at 6 a.m. to drive across to Eindhoven. So it was a little bit of a shame for that, but it did show up. It was Tuesday. I was about a half hour away from leaving for Brussels airport, and it showed up from UPS after a number of phone calls and everything like that. So I did be able to bring some samples back home. I do have, obviously I've been promoting them and stuff like that. So we do have the first round of printer samples of SMO4 book, which is great to see because it's it gives me an indication. So this is, as I mentioned, as also in the newsletter, this is a new printer to us. We've got 2 printers running in parallel right now, which is kind of nice for us. We haven't really had that option in the past. They're both in the same country, so it does kind of facilitate logistics for us at the same time. But as you can see here, some of the colors are, this is kind of a digital copy. This is not a proof copy. And so there's a difference between the two if you're not sure on the technical variations between a printer sample, which is like a kind of like a giant Epson printer, and they trim it up and they make it look like a book. They kind of fake it. Whereas a printer proof is actually what they go through the computer processing called pre-flight, get your colors accurate. They'll print out an accurate representation of what they'll come off of the press, and then they'll send it to you to confirm and sign off on, or red line or change stuff and like that. So this is a printer sample, not the proof. Proofs are actually going to be here pretty soon, so we were talking about that because now that I can kind of see the whole book in its entirety, there's a whole bunch of good stuff here. Haven't really had a chance yet to get into the QR codes because you guys don't have them in your hand. So these QR codes here that you can scan with your phone. So you'll take your cell phone, put it in photo mode, put it right over that, just like a restaurant menu. It'll pop you right into YouTube, and there is, for each QR code, it covers the section that it's part of in the book. So to describe that further, if we go back a little bit here. So the one that I kind of teased out was the beginning demo one for the weld beads. So starting off in the book will be the weld bead one, which gets into redoing all the welds on the Brumbar. Mainly because I'd been able to stand next to it. It's one of those rare occasions where you can kind of get up close and personal with some things. There is some surviving examples. So I did a bunch of kind of redoing the Tamiya kit and stuff like that. It's all videoed, kind of my early videos, if you will. So be nice. It's a lot of work to get up to speed over the last couple of years to get the videos and everything up to production quality. But it is what it is. It's all shot in 4K, so it is pretty good quality. There's no voiceover, so you don't have to listen to me, which I'm sure probably a lot of people appreciate. But anyway, there's QR codes, 12 of them in the book throughout the whole thing. They cover the whole basic spectrum of everything that I did all the way through. It's 176 pages, and so if you're unfamiliar with the SM series in and of itself, so pardon all the different logos I use, but that's okay. I don't mind that too much. But with SM1, 2, it's backwards. SM1, 2, 3, and 4, you can see 4 is almost twice as thick as SM01. The other books spend a bit more time on testing and information of that nature because they were transitional pieces for a lot of different genres. Whereas this one, you guys are very familiar with in terms of tank art and stuff like this. So this is the first armor SM book dedicated to that category. And if we're going to talk about certain stuff, it's all mission paint in here, by the way. So it's I think as the book hits, we'll do additional streams. As we get final copies, we'll do additional streams in terms of what's in this specifically. So for now, this is kind of a high-end teaser, from what I came off of in the previous streams with this. And I did weather the belly of the tank. Because that question comes up more than you think. Hey, do you weather the bottom? Yeah, I did. Couple tidbits on this one. Let's see, where is it? There is, here, let me showcase for you guys. So what I did on this one a little bit differently is because it's a Panzer IV chassis. Yeah, the Brumbar model was on display, Steve Jones. It was actually in the judge's case, by the way. So it was there. I traveled with that. I put it in my backpack, and I can show you the packing case that I did for that if you need to see it. I did a whole thing on Patreon for that on how to pack a model for air travel and stuff like that, for TSA and stuff like that. So it arrived. In fact, it made it all the way there and back. One of the top hatches came unglued, and I just glued it back down, and the model is fine, perfectly fine. Best packing process I've ever done. It's a little bit stealing from the gunplug community with the foam, and I'll show it to you here in a second. But one thing I want to talk about with the Brum, because it's a Panzer IV chassis, the Stupa, is I did a bunch of track sets for this. So you've got, to begin with, because there are those that don't like Lincoln Link and or metal and or don't want to buy anything else. I've done the Tamiya tracks in the kit as I would paint them for real, so they're in there. I then have a set of model casting tracks for the late Panzer IV chassis, which I think is a pretty rare set. It's got the, I don't know if you can see that. It's got the lightning holes without the ice cleats. So that I know the experts out there will know what type of track that is. or its actual factual number. So you got the model casted set, you got the rubber, the vinyl. To me, I don't even know if they're rubber anymore. And you can see here what it looks like on the tank, what it looks like, what the model casting look like. Model casting are probably the most crispy of all of them, in terms of detail, representation of tracks. And then you have, as kind of a bit of a teaser, you have the combat tracks, which is full model. And then I've got a bunch of kind of fantasy scenarios I'm doing with this piece here, because the Brumbar in and of itself, another big aspect of things that I wanted to play with this time was in the stowage conversation, or if I put that in the book. Earlier. Mr. Stowage, probably right after tracks, right? Yeah, here we go. So what I did on this one, which is a little bit different in terms of tackling, it doesn't matter if standalone or vignette diary, it doesn't really matter. Everything here is loose. Everything that I did in terms of add-ons to this is loose and not glued to the model. And what that does, or what that allows for, is kind of I would say a little bit more interesting or fun or whatever, anything like that. Now, I'm not paying attention, guys, in the chat, so hold on a second, I'll get caught up. Agne Stromberg, good evening from Sweden. Hello. I answered that one. Marcin says, LOL. Is there QR code for RSP? Not yet, brother. Not yet. Steve Patron is our pre-order the book. Do I get it automatic? Yes, Fred, you do. Everybody that's pre-ordered the book is guaranteed a copy. It's all coming. We should see those. I'm going to say 2 or 3 weeks realistically in terms of it being ready to ship to us, and then we have to go through the logistics process. And then you saw what happened with Tank Art 2, so I'm just being mum's the word until I have hard data with that. So just be patient with the logistics side, because it comes from Asia, we go into Europe, and we go into the US, and then we've got to turn those around to you guys. So there is Danny Jerison Domino Models, Belgium distributor. They should have the full line either now or soon. I know they have I think they have everything but Tank Art 3, Danny, in terms of Domino model. Fruhl is making a comeback. Yep, that was confirmed that Giuseppe, I'm not sure what company he was from, but is taken over. So all that kind of stuff. So anyway, loose stowage is kind of fun because it allows you to kind of update, change, alter the look of your model over time, which is just kind of a unique perspective, I think. And by contrast, for example, like the Cromwell, the Desert Cromwell, all that's glued down. I can't change it if I wanted to. So I like that aspect to it. And then of course the whole section on OPR, and then there's all the colors and everything, all that standard stuff that I do. There's a step-by-step with the photos, and then there's probably the bulk of the videos in terms of the back end of the videos are heavy OPR, of course, in terms of the weathering, all the pigments on the chassis, pigments on the tracks. Yeah, whole bunch of stuff. Dry brushing, all the chipping stuff, all the painting stuff, battle damage. It's loaded. All the color charts, you've got all of my color charts in here and how I process out the colors. A lot of you guys have been teased with that in terms of the filtering of the colors with the base tones into the other colors. That's all represented in here, and it's all broken down, giving you the formulas, the ratios, the colors, and everything like that. So it's a pretty heavy duty book. All the scratch building in terms of replacing the shirts in and stuff like that was handled in here. There's no video of that part because that was done prior to me taking videos, unfortunately. Details, 3D parts, not much in that because this kit doesn't need a lot of extra stuff. Great model, applicable for all the Panzer IV series. You've got the tank kits, you've got the Jag kits, you've got the L70 and the A models out. Even shot some black stuff. You've got all the chipping, all the scratches. There's a new type of chipping in here as well. Just kind of a little bit of a different technique on top of everything else. Again, it's all mission, so it's not a lacquer-based book. And then you have your quick reference SPS in the back of the book for normal for RSP. There you go. But you can see in the printer sample here, colors are slightly off. It's a little kind of yellowy pea greenish a little bit, and so you can see in the shadow here, you can see the colors a little bit off. That just lets you know the printer sample. This isn't a proof sample. This isn't the final colors, but I do like their choice of paper. Did a good job with that, etc., etc., etc. Still available for pre-order through, should have been closed today, but I'm gonna leave it open for a couple more days, just in case you guys want to grab a copy. Because then we get into this stuff here. El Book Jackado has appeared. Yay, team! Yeah, that was a thing. Okay, so what are the book jackets? What are we doing? So one of the things I've wanted to introduce to the company for a long time, in the pause of getting all this stuff, the pre-order stuff done, I have to get back to the job of running RSP. And so one of the things I want to do is start adding accessories to the company line, things that go into kind of, the book ownership, if you will, and the experience with it. So the book jackets were kind of a side program that I developed over the last couple of years on the side, and then with the new printer coming online, he's got a lot of other technologies available that we can use, which is great because it allows me to be flexible with this kind of stuff. And we'll get into the posters here in a second too. Frula's back, MMP German colors is going to be out of stock once this book comes out. Yeah, they're probably already mostly, yeah, so one thing I noticed was I didn't see a lot of mission at SMC at all. Like I don't think it's very common in Europe anymore. I don't know what the story is with that. Again, I don't have anything to do with the company anymore if you just kind of missed that one a while back. I still use them, you know, as far as I'm concerned, but in terms of availability, I'm not on point with whatever it is that they're doing. That all said, book jackets. So what we've got here is basically, you have your tank art series, and then what I've got is a series of designs and limited edition stuff that come in groups of 4 right now because there's 4 books available. So there's tank art 1 all the way through to tank art 4, and they're kind of in a vintage kind of style of this one here. It's a real heavyweight kind of textured stock paper. It's really nice. Limited edition tank art 1 book jacket, design group 1, printed in USA March of 2020. Yeah, that's when I started this design. So that's actually old text. There you go. But yeah, and then they wrap around the books. So you saw with Tank Art 2 the introduction of a book jacket. It's something, again, it's something I've mentioned before, something we've been kind of playing with for a while. But now that we have the production facilities to do that, they are coming out, and they'll be coming out as kind of small batch groups, limited edition. Kind of think of it like comic book covers, if you will. That's kind of what the idea was, just to kind of spice up the shelf, change it up a little bit for those that are interested in that kind of stuff. It's not a big deal, but it's just something I want to walk through. And then we have the second series here, which is on colored stock, and you'll probably see quite a few versions of colored stock book covers. You know, you'll probably see like all white, you'll probably see like all black covers, you'll probably see metallics and foils and some other stuff in the future. I was super keen on this one though because it's in what we call uncoated paper stock, which is basically raw paper, and then you're running the ink on it, and you get a really nice effect between the satin and the matte and all that kind of stuff. So that's also available, and this is kind of the TA1 and TA2s. Now, even though I did say on the website they're not for this, but they will fold around them fine. Yeah, and there's a lot of other stuff coming, but this is, my friend, this is the gray one. It's my only copy left. So this is the OG Tank Art 1. You can see when you put obviously it gives you a whole new look. You know, this obviously is a whole brand new kind of look and style to it. So this is the old original. So if you have a lot of these, you know, they're sitting on the shelf. They are starting to show some wear and tear. And if you do want kind of a refresh, it's like just like putting a new jacket on when you go out on a date. It's kind of what that is. So there you go. And these come in all, there's every one of those will have a different color. So I think the Tank Art 3 is a blue one. Tank Art 4 is an orange one. I do have samples incoming of the other 3 and 4. They sent me Tank Art 1 and 2 for the time being because I just needed something quick. So there's that. It's also in the accessories section on said website. Link in the description down below. Click the like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. So the posters. So on Instagram, I mentioned this before last time. We'll hustle here pretty quickly. 5 more minutes. I've been doing Instagram mobile phone advertising or marketing campaign, and the reply was strong. Guys are like, hey, can I get that, or how would we do that? So what we're going to do is we're doing 20 by 40 posters, 20 inch by 40 inch, which is, what is that? Like 50 centimeter by a little over 100 centimeter in terms of size. And then what the printer had done was for the show, they made little mini ones, kind of like a business card size. We might utilize this concept moving forward because these are super cool. So the first 4 will be this one. Let's see, this one, F4U, and then F4U, not for you. Where's the Panther? This one. So Patreon voted on the first 4, and it was this one. So the first four posters coming up for press. And we'll be doing these on the regular, by the way. So I've talked to my printer this week about doing a more regular printing batches of these. So you've got the Tank Art 1, which is kind of always kind of my big dog in terms of, like, you know, you guys all know that one. The Corsair one proved really popular. You know, kind of that blue was real striking. Everybody really liked that one. Panther held in strong. I was impressed with that one, that this one came through and was in the first grouping of 4. And this one was the one that really, you know, a lot of guys like kind of the black and the motif here with the dark photo against the black background tied into that thing. So there's a bunch of them coming. You can see you got like SM2, SM3. There's multiples for each of the books, plus a lot of individual ones. Like, for example, this dude here is the RSO from the Mecha Dio that we're working on. Let's see what else we got. I just have a whole bunch of. There's like 30 or 40 of these now. The classic, one of my personal faves, the E100, which should be back up finally into the rotation hopefully pretty soon. That's a photo of it after it was re-stripped down many years ago after all the painting that I did on this particular model. It's actually sitting in the closet right over there too, which is pretty interesting to see. There's some specialty stuff coming on that I haven't really talked about before, but there's some other stuff coming on that. RSP book, we got hats coming, we got merch coming. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff in the works right now. As I said, we've got some new partner companies that we've been kind of coordinating some stuff with. Excited for the rest of this year. So once SM04 clears, just to be everybody on the same page, the Technique Guide books print. And that's just because it's a financial conversation with RSP. We don't have enough money to put all the books out on the press right now, and that's just all that's happening. So those of you upset about the delays, it's predominantly on the back end of what happened in 2022 with the fulfillment service. None of that's fake and none of that's bullshit. And when a company goes through that and puts you in the red hard, this is what happens when you're a one-man show and the banks aren't tossing you money because you rent a fucking apartment and you don't have a house to leverage for mortgage to get credit from the bank to say, hey, we need 50 or 100K to get the business back up and running. So it takes a lot longer to do this, and I mean that sincerely. And that's all that it is. Aussie Stew, E100, great looking kit, all oil paint palettes. Yes, Brian, there'll be some stuff with that. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming. There's a whole mess of trading cards. That is kind of the theme, but also some swag for shipping. One of the things I haven't been able to do yet is I want to get into, getting you guys, when you receive packages from RSP, to get a little bit of these kind of fun. These would be great to throw in the mailers. They're not expensive for us to do in terms of cost, so it's a lot of fun stuff like that. Bookmarks, we do have a functional bookmark program coming, by the way, James Alexander. So yeah, lots of stuff in the works. Yeah, it's a lot of swag, a lot of stickers. Been pushing off the merch for a while, but I think what we'll do is get through this holiday season, get the SM4 and Technique Guides done, and then probably first of the year we'll get into SM5 and 6 heavy, and then all the other new printing stuff coming after that on the heels of all this stuff, because there's some other kind of things I'm sitting on in terms of new products coming from RSP. So I wanted to get these little ones out kind of first and into the system. These are good little fun gifts, that whole thing. You want to dress up your shelf, you want to stylize your somewhat older OG books, go for it. Okay, did I hit everything? Okay, let's do model building now. I need this. Oh, let's do a giveaway. All right, let me see if I can. I haven't done one in a minute. I should have this all set up. It should be ready to go. Okay, so listen closely. Hold on, let me do this first. Okay, here. Let me put this in. Hold on, guys. Hashtag 39. Okay. Okay. All right, my friends. In the chat, type in hashtag 39. Hashtag 39, and we'll run a giveaway. I don't know how long. I haven't done a giveaway. Would I do it for like a minute or two? But if you're up, so the first airbrush is a brand new GHAD 39. This one is, I did open this one, okay. So what Gaahleri has done, let me zoom out a minute here, hold on one second here. Am I all the way zoomed out? Okay, let me put this up a little bit. Okay, so on the Gaahleri airbrush train, the GHAD was the one my dude here, it's the one I did the stream on. I purchased mine. Thank you, Jeff Two Hands, by the way. Hashtag 39 boys, we'll get this going here. I don't know how long, I'll cut it off here in a few minutes. I'll let everybody have a chance. Again, we have all 3 airbrushes from Gaahleri to give away, so we'll do this one first, and then we'll do some model building stuff, and then we'll give away another one. That all said, GHAD 39, best entry-level airbrush on the market, hands down. Not even a question in my opinion. Okay, so what did they change up here? So this one I did open up. The first thing is they have these no tamper seals now. So when you receive one from Amazon, in terms of when you buy one now from Gaahleri, they have a sticker seal on that, so it's not somebody else's return from Amazon back to you, kind of that whole situation. So they've taken care of that. In fact, I think they mentioned that here, undergoes rigorous spray testing before leaving the factory. I think this is a new card. There might be minor paint residue present. So sometimes some guys have mentioned when they get the airbrush and they open up, there's a little bit of paint residue on the needle. That's because they actually physically spray test the airbrush before they ship it out, which is just quality control stuff. But to clean all that properly 100% all the time, hey, we miss it too, right? If the product, I love this, in case you guys are not familiar with Gaahlerie's customer service, this one's key. If the product indeed has an issue, no need to return it. Just contact us to confirm the problem, and we will arrange a reshipment for you. It's fucking awesome. Love them. Great group of people. Great products. If you haven't seen, the inside of the cover has the airbrush diagram with all the breakdown of the parts and the names. A little instruction guide here for you, and then of course you have this big dog here. So you get the 2 cup sizes, maybe a 1/4 and a 1/2 ounce. I forget this, 1/3 or a 1/2. I forget the size on this. I should do my homework, right? It comes with the 2 needles. Comes preloaded with the 0.35. So the 39 has a 0.35, and this is the 0.5 nozzle, and this is the 0.5 needle, and you get the tube of lube and all the airbrushes. So you will get a lot of lubrication if you've bought a few of the Gaahleri airbrushes. And it comes with a little foam cover there. And what I will do to whoever wins this, and we'll do this thing in a second, I will sign the bottom of it for you. I'll sign and date it for you to give you a little extra love. I think I have a Molotov chrome pen that I could use for this purpose. So anyway, let's do the thingy. Let me run the thing. Let's see what it says. Okay, draw. Okay, entries, 46 entries. Okay, you guys ready? Put in, I'll give you a few seconds, hashtag 39 if you have not, into the chat. It's just what we call a hashtag. It's the little, tic-tac-toe sign. Okay, here we go. Everybody ready? Okay, let's do a draw. Okay, does it show up on the stream? Do I not have it on the, oh wait, hold on. Hold on 1 second here. How do I add that window to the present? Hold on, share screen. Okay, let's see. The winner is Mike K. Okay, hold on, let me see here. I want you guys to see this. How do I do that? How do I get off of here? All right, hold on, let me put this, maybe make another screen for that. Hold on. Present, share screen, window. There we go. Now you guys can officially see. Sorry, I'll do the next one a little bit better. I haven't done a giveaway like in years, right? A couple of years. So the winner is Mike K. So this is gonna work is you contact me at mytankard@me.com with your address. I'll sign it and I'll mail it to you. So there you go. So there's the first airbrush giveaway. We got 2 more to go, so I'll put that aside. Because Mike to Mike, we're gonna do a little shipping. Did I miss any other comments besides that? Customer service is on point. Yes, they are a fantastic operation. We do appreciate what they do. I'll keep that window open separately for next time. Let's see what it does. Let's see, hide that. How do I get back to the first thing? Okay, sweet, I got it. Okay, we're all set up for the next one. Yeah, congrats, Mike. Holy cow, thank you, first ever. See, there you go, made somebody's day. And we like your avatar, dude, with your I'm guessing your kid there. Hopefully, cheers. Such a dick. I'm snorting on camera too. Okay, Steven Smith, congrats. Everybody says congrats. Awesome. Yeah, Teddy each. Yep. Awesome, guys. Thank you. Again, we'll do. We have 2 more to give away. We have a 98D, and that one is not opened and sealed, and it is still sealed in the thing. Same with the 68. And I will say, if you are paying attention to Gaahleri, they have a new version of, or a updated custom version of the 68 called the Swallowtail, which has a different kind of handle and a little bit different fit and finish. It comes from their close partnership with one of the Gunpla community guys, one of the heavyweights, Studio G. Should be here any day. They did tell me that they're sending me one, so we will do probably review of the Swallowtail when it comes in. And you guys, so this is my 68 here. They've already sent, this is the one that they sent me after I purchased the 39 and did the first review. So, but it's got some different fit, finish, and features, and we'll check it out. So I'm excited about that. It's a moving and shaking company, as they say, or whatever that is, whatever that terminology is. Okay. Oops, I forgot to put in. My bad. My K is gonna be like, "Where's my little bag of washers?" Okay. Let's see what else. And congrats, Mike. That's really nice. I'm happy you won. Because your name's Mike. There's a lot of Mikes in chat. All the Mikes are happy for you. Everybody else is just being polite. No worries. Okay, what do we got here? We have some great stuff coming out. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they've already confirmed this publicly. I think my brain's on point. There is a new heavyweight airbrush coming from them that will be kind of in the custom micron level. So we're excited for, I think, towards the end of the year. What else? Panzer Cat says hello. 2 hands. First, snort on stream. Yep. Anything to get a hashtag out of you, Jeffrey. What else? Mark Parks. Let's see. Just check in chat real quick. Did I miss any questions, by the way? Because I've not paid attention for 5 minutes, at least, maybe longer. Okay, we'll get going here in a sec. I Thank everybody for hanging out. Ooh, we're pushing good. Let's get a couple more. Let's push 100. Hash mark on the keyboard, pound side. Only Nog would ask that question. Which one is it? Hashtag is, it's shift number 3, Mr. Nog. I don't know. Maybe the keyboard's down under or flipped. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it's shift or command shift 3. It's the shift option for the number 3. Okay. Oh, let's get all the books out of here. So to confirm, all the book jackets and posters will be limited edition. The posters, I will sign and number them as they come and go. Everything's going to be coming through me with all those, so I'll be in control of that 100% in terms of the posters, book jackets, accessory programs, and we get into merch. Probably initially, RSP in Portland will be handling all the shipping for that over the next couple of months, and then of course, when things move with the books and what you're seeing with the information and news is, I want to confirm, because for example, Tank R2 shipping was 60% smooth and 40% not smooth, so it's kind of a hit and miss. And then SM04, he's aware, he's my new boy, and I like him a lot. And I think because of the if you don't know what SM's about, it's because the tank arts are at a kilo a piece. They're a bitch to get around the world. So the SM books, one of the priorities was size and weight. And so bringing that down puts it into a window of much easier accessibility logistically wise. We're hoping this goes smoother because we can probably bulk load one big fat shipment to me to get these books in my hand and put them in my control. And that's kind of the key aspect of when I can really put out reliable information. So that's kind of one of the things you're seeing with me. Only Jeffrey, all 3 in the UK. Yeah, keyboards, Apple, Microsoft, or IBM, Intel, whatever it is. Okay, what are we doing? I keep staring at the Churchill because I haven't touched it in a minute. I haven't played with that one in a while. All right, guys, we'll do that. So one of the things I was doing on Patreon is I have a couple other spares in the stash in terms of, get this out of the way for a second. Let's see, we go back to Zoom, get you guys so you can actually see this stuff, right? So what I did on Patreon recently this week was to kind of go through a teachable process of what to do when you sit down for the first time at the bench in a long time, or you've been away for a while or whatever. You don't model on a super regular, consistent basis. Is to go through a warm-up phase, and that's what I was doing here with this Cromwell turret, which was actually one of, speaking of mission, this was one of my testing turrets way back when we were trying to figure out, when you do the hairspray chipping, why it wasn't working with the mission paint back when it was getting a lot of feedback that's turning muddy and stuff like that. This is the actual turret that I use for those kind of workable sessions behind the scenes to figure it out and kind of come up with the idea of whatever it was that was going on. We did solve that because we did find out that the alcohol breaks it down. So that was kind of the residual of denatured alcohol is the #1 ingredient in hairspray, and it just chews through this paint, which turns it into mush. However, with the caveat, because you guys ask about this quite a bit too, is the poly additive. When you put the poly into the paint, you can then work with hairspray a lot easier. However, I do also recommend just go to a chipping fluid and figure it out, because the chipping fluid's non-alcohol based at all, and you just won't have those kind of problems to fight. And we went through a whole regimen of that the other day with that, and it just confirms that you just use the chipping fluid, water-based chipping fluid if you have to. But the poly will help for that too. But anyway, as you guys have seen here in the last couple of years, you can just skip it all together and just go right into what this is here, is mission on mission. And then this is OPR on the weathering of this to take it from this, fresh painted side with some kind of chipping roadmap over into this with the warm-up phase, with the practice phase, with just kind of sitting down and going through muscle memory, just going through color applications and stuff like this to get kind of warmed up for when you shift over to kind of a real model. You're ready to go. It's the same conversation that you have with your players on a team and stuff like that. Hello, Robert. How are you, sir? Busy today, made it for a short time. I think you just missed the first giveaway. This Jeffrey is, you are in Canada, Jeff Longman. Jeff Longman. I try to call you Jeff, and then two hands is Jeffrey. So sorry for the, there's a lot of, Stevens and Davids and Mikes and Michaels. I try to keep you all, and a lot of Matts. There's a lot of Matts. You did just miss it, and speaking of Matt B, you did just miss the first one, but there's 2 more to go, guys. So don't worry about it. We got a ways to go. We got about 2 hours to go. I'll try to remind me in about like 45 minutes. We'll do another one. So anyway, Patreon, kind of a, how do you get your brain on point with this stuff? You know, in terms of transitioning from, if you either are in a position of you finish the painting and then how do you get going? A follow on to that is this guy here. Also going to be this video hasn't come out yet, but it's the follow on to this in terms of like going from paint into OPR, and then this one here is going from paint and all that stuff directly into weathering with the pigment / oil paint conversation in a combination for in particular chassis road weathering and stuff like that. Just using these little these old Jeep kits. These are the ones from the Gaahleri videos. I've got both of them. I've got this one today. We can continue on this one today if we want, but I want to do a little bit on the Churchill first. Move that along, because if you remember, we'll talk about it here. I'll bring you back up to speed on where we left off with the Super Churchill. But this video here is also kind of the same principle of kind of just taking a test piece, taking a low-end model. This is the old, I believe it's the quarter-ton Willys. It's after the SAS Jeep that Tamiya had done, and it's before the current tooling of the regular US Jeep kit. So it's kind of that 80s kind of Vietnam era Willys that they had. I think that's what this one was. And I turned it into kind of a British SAS. It's broken some pieces, but we've got some basic chipping and some other stuff going on here. This stuff here was all done with the 98D Gaahleri, and this video I still have to edit that one down for YouTube in terms of what I did with the sand camo and then the brown camo with the 98D, because that's their high-end airbrush. With Gaahleri, and then I did some chipping, and then I did some this. So there's a lot of videos coming on this stuff here. Everybody on Patreon gets all that stuff first, etc., all that good stuff, prioritizing those boys. But this dude here, let's see if I can pull you over here a little bit more. But I do want this back. I believe this should hold it. Okay. Righty loosey, lefty tighty. Hello, Matt58. Case in point, we have a lot of same name guys. I have to keep everybody and remember who's who. Okay, so did I open it wide enough? Nope, not yet. That was miss. Too tiny. Come back in. Crank that down. Watching football. Steve Smith, what I missed? Changing my name. I hear you, Aussie Stu. Okay. All right. And you can see here. Okay, so we got dude on. So we lefty tighty. So he's now locked in. So I've had a couple questions about that when you're holding a model for stuff like this. One of the things I find to be a little bit easier to deal with in terms of shifting through the holders, if you have a lot of these kind of things that I have, put them onto like a little piece of something else. I use a lot of like wood scrap, and then tape the hole down to the wood, and then you can clamp that wood into these posts a little bit easier to deal with than trying to clamp over the model itself. So I find that to be a little bit of a safer way, and I just keep everything on these wood bases, because when you pop it off, then you can hold everything by this little kind of wood base holder prior to whatever, and then I need less of these, and I can swap between the various bits and pieces. But one of the things you notice is you go from a lightweight tank turret to the full chassis with the frill, well, at least half a frill set on there. It gets pretty loose, and so you got the little Allen head, Allen locking nut there. So that just clamps that down, and that just tighten that back up, so it's a little bit more consistent. Still a little bit loose. Hold on. Crank that down. There we go. Okay, that should hopefully. Yep, there we go. Okay. So that is in situ. So here we are with Mr. Churchill. We have, what we'll do is maybe we do the turret today, but what we had done to catch everybody back up, to get back up to speed, to get to the scale model. Part of this, this was the color theory one. If you remember the kind of the working with the various shades of the red primer underneath the sand gray camo to get this to reinforce its color in terms of getting the gray tones out of it appropriately so that it reads as what it was supposed to be, because this is a what if conversion, and you're not going to immediately recognize it unless that color really hits 1-to-1, and that was kind of the game on that, was to really get this color to hit, to read that kind of the grayish tint that it has. So there's a whole bunch of live streams on this guy. We've come back, we've probably done maybe half a dozen of them, I think, maybe, plus some edited stuff. And then what I've done is the OPR through this whole thing, where we've gone across the surface here, all the way over to here, and then I think the last one was a combination of showcasing kind of the single color application theories in terms of, say, from the early 2000s, in terms of applying a weathering element in a single color application one at a time and building that up that way, versus what I do today or in recent years with OPR and the development of colors, working with your palette completely, you know, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to point out some things that I've been seeing recently with OPR and how people talk about them and how people use them to hopefully kind of clarify and add a little bit more information so you guys really pull out of it what you should be pulling out of it. Matt 50 does say hello. Did I miss anybody? Change my name? Yeah, no, I feel he needs already Marston's on the second drink. It was rigged. All the mics. It was only for the mics. No, James Alexander, the Swallowtail is the 68 with the new grip handle on it. It is a 68, not a 98, as far as I know, unless that's different, unless I don't know that. No, because the Swallowtail was Studio G, Gunpla, model builder professional, had a custom version made that he debuted. I'm pretty sure it's the same one. If I missed my one on that, then I apologize, but it should be it's a trigger style, as far as I know, which is the 68. Catch my breath for a sec. Did I miss any questions by chance? Just out of curiosity, just scrolling back up and back through. So anyway, that's what we were doing there. So what I think we'll do is we'll continue on with the weathering for now. Looks like I got some early pigment work in here. We can work on that, and then the rotation of that around to the rear of said Mr. Tank chassis. Push this up a little bit so you get a little bit better view. And then in case you're wondering, this is just still an incomplete project. We still have to paint all that up. We'll get to that eventually. I have to fill the old air cleaner hole and fill that in, and then I think I have to fill in the tow cable stuff, clean this up, and then I can prime that, and then I can paint it like this side. And I was just kind of I don't want to say a hurry, but it just kind of came out that way. It was not intentional. And this isn't glued, by the way, so all this will glue back down. And it's so you got some scratch built louvers in there. It's the Israeli gimmick. It's the late Centurion. I forget the AFE Club Centurion kit name. It's the late 80s one, like 84, 85 vintage one. So I cut the Centurion deck into that. I've got a little bit of an extra vent through the fender there. And then using some of the stowage bin and the Centurion air cleaners for this to update this. And then of course with the turret we have the that is the 90 mil gun. I'm sorry, from the M47. So that was its change. And then we have the turret with an extra counterweight on it. Question, an OPR question: what common mistakes are you seeing people make? A whole bunch, Aussie Stu. We'll get into that. Let me open up the palette. We'll get going. I'll talk about it as we go. Lewis is already on the next one. Look at it, he's like #68. Yeah, no, we'll get there. I'll let you know when to do that, Lewis, on the next giveaway. So don't sweat the thing, even though you're probably being smart about that. Or if you got to bounce, at least get your name in there. I don't know. Hold on, Lewis. I'm not sure if it collects it now because I haven't actually put the hashtag into the giveaway window yet. So you may be a little bit early. Wait till I announce it, please. Yeah, 68 advance. Yeah, there is a thing about that real quick too, is, you know, they have these names up here and then they have these codes down here. And we were calling them like GAC 98D. It is actually GHAC-98D, and it's in their ACE series, you know, the premiums and advanced series. So they have it's kind of a vehicle naming series. You know, you have your SUV, your sedan, your sports car up here, your hypercar, and then you have the badge on the back of the trunk. It's kind of how I'm looking at this. Anyhow, okay. So let's get this dude over here. I do need this. I need a fresh one of these dudes. We'll get into this a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna push this here. And if you are short on brushes, I'm not sure where they're at on the current sales. I know they've been running a ton of sales. Hello, Jim. How are you, sir? Ghost Rider. I know King Art has been running, and this is the time of year to get on the King Art brushes because they will run a mad number of sales between Halloween through the fall, Thanksgiving through Christmas in terms of the sales for King Art. So and all the links are in the description down below for this stuff, including all the affiliate links for, I should mention that too. By the way, I'm officially a Gaahleri affiliate. All that links have been updated for all the videos that they're presented in. I don't need two of these dudes. Another one of these just in case. So yeah, good stuff happening. I knew you were going there, Jeff. It was Jeffrey. It was just a matter of time. Okay, just, yeah, Red Beach 1 Studio sure did it nice. Get some rain for the weekend would be great. Yeah, you can have our rain, bro. I'm not ready for it yet. I'm so not ready for like the cold winter thing coming. There we go. That's a little better light. Oops. Okay, is that good? Yep, nice. You flickering for? Actually, let me do this too. Hold on. Okay, I promise we'll get going. I'm sorry. You guys know me. I always have a little bit of a lag between work and chat. I think the dudes aren't coming through, or maybe they rescheduled it because I requested that. And I just didn't know that. Ooh, that's loud. Sorry. Nope. Hold on. Let me go back up. There's a whole bunch of new music in here. Put that back down. Turn the volume. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, they'll have Joshua Murphy. They'll have a number of sales. So just be prepared if you're looking for the King Art brushes and in bulk discount or. I know international shipping is a nightmare with them, but I'm trying to solve that myself too down the road. So we'll get you guys hooked up pretty soon. Because I do know they're kind of in this like FedEx Express mail only with brushes, which is like $50 to $100 an order. Like I explained it to them, and they're just like. They just don't want to deal with it. They're not built for international shipping. They don't want to deal with all that. So they do just like a high-end shipping level only. Guys like me who are, we've been shipping all the various low services for years, so we know what we're doing. So I hope to take that back over pretty soon. Okay, I don't have. It's not a lot of thinner, bro. Okay, we'll put you down and we'll add some more. We got a little Batman music on. I loaded up like 50 new things into the music library of StreamYard because they now allow for you to load up. So I put in all my YouTube video music into this, so you'll hear some different stuff than just the typical lo-fi. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're on point. Camera looks good. Focus looks good. Alrighty. So let's see here. Let me get my brain on point. Because I have to do this too. So it was one of the reasons I talked about the video of doing a warm-up, because every time I notice when I sit down to do this and I have to do a stream or do it in kind of the public domain, I'm running around getting ready for it. So the moment I actually start to do this is like the first time, at least for the day, or at least a couple of days between when I've actually worked on this. So it's kind of a key point because there is a risk in terms of you can screw it up. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about that, but I think if you work smartly with this in terms of getting onto the model, warming up slowly, working in small sections so your risks are much lower. Actually, ooh, I caught that. Turn off auto. The autofocus is working good. So they've updated all the softwares for the streaming thing. But what I can do now is, hold on. They do now add in a manual lock focus. So I know two hands. We talk about this quite a bit back and forth in terms of like cell phone capabilities and iPhone stuff. Epicam updated, so they have a much better autofocus, which is what you've been seeing, and then now I've got a lock manual focus. Yeah, so that should stay focused on that dude. Okay, cool. A little bit of an upgrade from them. Okay, but I should get into this. I'm gonna scooch over a little bit here. Down. I'm a little bit off the palette here. Hold on, I'll move the model here. So that way you guys can at least see the palette work while I do this. Okay. And you, sir, have to. Okay. Okay, hold on one second. Let me just get my position correct so you can see all this while I do this too. So it's a little bit in my face, but you can tell. Scotty Stilson went to Salem for Halloween last night. Ooh, that would probably be an effective Halloween location, I would imagine. Okay, towel on my lap just in case I fumble. Arnaud, bonsoir, mon ami, how are you? Barbatos Rex does some pretty cool builds. Locking focus is sweet. Yeah, I'm hoping that kind of helps because oftentimes when I stream the blur, like if I airbrush, you guys know what I mean. So, but to get started, get a little thinner down. You won't see the paper towel per se, so I've got a little paper towel right below me. There is some pigments here. Let's actually do this. A lot of guys ask about this. They're fixed already. They're going to go through a little bit of this is the Gamsol thinner, which is non-toxic. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing shots of this stuff, but it is pretty much, in terms of all the solvent thinners, the most non-toxic by a mile. Okay, so what I'm doing is just kind of prepping the surface. This model has been sitting in the cabinet for weeks. All this paint here is bone dry. This surface is bone dry. The reason I do this and lay down a little bit of paint thinner, and you can see here, let me see if I can catch the glint off the, let's see, we'll look at the, just, that's kind of how wet I go, just so you can kind of see. It's not soaking wet, it's just kind of a surface dampness. And the reason I do that is my initial foray, wherever I'm at with this, is often going to be a light to dark situation. In other words, if it's particularly with ground combat, you're talking dust, even mud, you know, you're going to want to build up old stuff first, which is going to dry and turn lighter, and then you can build up the darker to the newer stuff and or to the wetter stuff. Basic principles of kind of applying the colors. And I need this brush here. Let's go. So what I like to do is, my palette has been in the freezer on and off, but this is a fairly fresh palette, so some of you have asked about that kind of stuff. If I see the colors moving like this, actually here I can do this. I think I can do both. Shift it to there. Did it focus there? Come on, shift down there. There it goes. Okay, so when I see my colors immediately respond on the palette, to those of you dealing with your oil palette, when I see that right away, then my oils are ready to go out of the gate. It's been sitting outside or on my table for about an hour, so it comes up to room temperature from the freezer. And it's about 69, 68 degrees, 70 degrees inside my unit Fahrenheit. Whatever that is Celsius, you guys figure that one out. And then if I see that right away, then I know I can go right into the model and work with it immediately. I don't have to do any prep work. If it's fighting you and it's like kind of dried out, like some of these down here will probably be a little bit dried out, just take something and kind of like a piece of cake, the frosting on top is kind of solidified. You're gonna want to cut through and push through that to get to, you can see the brown here is a little bit kind of clunky, and that tends to be, the darker colors tend to do that a little bit. And then what you can do is you can take your brush, and I do recommend brushes for each of kind of the color groupings. Like, don't take your dust brush too often and put it in this stuff, like keep them kind of separate. So I have a dust brush, and then I'll have a darker brush right here. You just want to make sure that everything, the colors are kind of working. And you can check that real quick on the paper towel like this, so that you know, and that's how you check that. And you can check your moisture content by the paper towel. When you see it diffuse like this beige here, you can see that how wet that was compared to this one. And then if I want more of a dry brush, come in here, unload that, and see when you start to get that look right there, then you can start doing different effects with it. So that's how you control it with the paper towel. It's kind of like your volume control. Okay. So I don't need the dark one right away. I do need my eyeballs. So, what is Gamsol the solvent for oil paints? Gamblin. It's their proprietary solvent. It's an odorless thinner. Don't put it away. Put it away. Yeah, it's just the same thing as an odorless thinner. Have you ever tried pet lemons? It's a strange name, brother. Have you ever tried the AK Interactive True Metals in the freezer? I don't use anything AK anymore, to be honest with you. Be blunt about that one. The answer would be no. True Metals. Is that the stuff in the tube, Pet? Is that the tube stuff, kind of like the Rub and Buff? Your jig gives me a great idea. I'll try to interpret that just straight up literally. Doug asks, what kind of thinner are you using? Here, let me show you again. There's a couple. Any of the good brand odorless thinners or odorless mineral spirits, I believe, in certain countries of the world, it's also the problem with the art world is they all have kind of different names for that. A couple good ones at the store, at least the art store. Utrex no odor one is great. This guy, it's a good one. 100% pure odorless thinner with slow evaporation for artists, oil colors and oil mediums. Utrecht from our Dutch friends there, even though he's an American. Gamsol, Gamlin, Portland, Oregon. Oops, get on camera, dipshit. Okay. So Gamsol is the most unique of all the solvent thinners, and I kind of discovered this a couple of years ago when I switched over and bought some of the Gamlin stuff here, because it is a local oil paint company to me, so I can get it regularly now, as all of my other paints have basically, after 10 years have dried out and stuff, so I just started replacing them. 100% pure odorless mineral spirits. It has something I think in French down below. The thing with this one though, the difference is the math on this, I don't have it in front of me, the sheet, but in terms of toxicity level, When they measure that out in the science labs for solvent-based thinners and the toxicity level in terms of how strong is this solvent, this one comes out to a purity rating around, I believe the number is 0.005% of any kind of toxicity level. So it's almost completely inert. And this is designed, originally Gaahleri did this for teaching students in art schools to be really, really hyper safe, non-toxic. Because unless you eat the oil paints, they're completely non-toxic. There's no odor, there's no nothing. So Gaahleri does an outstanding. This bottle here, you can see it's already almost a year old, and that's how much I use. So I use it, you pour it a little bit out, you use it sparingly, lasts you a long time. It's probably $10 US, $12 US, something like that, which is not much different price to the AK and ammo stuff in terms of odorless thinners. 502s, everybody else. Anywho, that being said, that answer that question. That's why I never get anything done. It's my own fault. I took painting in college 20 years ago, and the paint should still be good. What about the terpenoid? Yeah, I would replace some stuff at that age just to be safe. There's no problem. I mean, there's no reason why not. The wax stuff in the tube, that's what a buff so nice for metallics. Yeah, it's kind of like the classic rub and buff, or whatever it was that made that stuff before in the tubes. I forget the brand name that was. I thought it was rub and buff back in the day. Mona Lisa, yeah, any of that kind of stuff works good. Yeah, Gaahleri being from Portland is definitely, but it is nationwide. You can find it in any art store. They're sold nationwide. But Utrecht is good. Any of the top brands, Winsor Newton, anybody, AK ammo, odorless is fine. That's what you want. What you don't want to be using is your enamel thinners. Those are way more caustic and way hotter from a chemical standpoint, and blending isn't anything of the same whatsoever. You'd think that, but given some of the things I've seen recently, I just think that's too. Aussie Stew, first one up, wrong thinner. That's the first mistake. A lot of guys using their enamel thinners for this stuff. And since this is starting to dry out, let me get in here. But you can see how, as the pigment's dried after, you see how I changed that just by the simple application of a thinner over a pigment in terms of working with my dust pigments and then working into the oil conversation. This kind of simple changes like this are money, to put it simply, to put it be blunt about it. You really get some nice, interesting effects when you start combining these two major products. So, but what I want to do is I've got kind of like a calcified earth colorway here that I've been kind of doing with this one. And the reason is you've got different colors of earth per region, and in this region here, you have the well-known kind of warmer, oranger, I think Golden Heights stuff. And this one here is I went with more of the kind of the beachy Sahara, southern colors a little bit in terms of kind of the dust on this one to kind of, I didn't want to overwhelm this model with that hyper strong, really rich orangish type dirt. So I made that decision as an artist. So when we talk about that stuff, that's intentional, because I'm kind of, going through the storytelling aspects of this one. Oil and water don't mix sometimes. This be heretical. Does anyone ever use water? Yeah, I mean, Drazimo, it is a viable option. Knock yourself out. It kind of works all the same. They just don't blend as nicely, but they work perfectly well, so go for it. MF Doomer TV, concerned that my thinner will evaporate. So when you do this, MF, when you do OPR, it's a couple hours per session, unless you've got the strong back and neck and you can push 4, 5, 6 hours. Even in that point in time, the evaporation off of this is it's minimal, dude. It's like nothing happens. And if you want to put it back in a catch cup with the lid, go for it. I just leave it on my desk and I use it 2 or 3 times a week, and I just add a little bit at a time. But again, whoops. Fumble. See, that base is nice. That cast iron base just holds up. Like I said, that's about a year's worth of use, dude. So the answer is no. You just don't go through it that fast. If you're going through this quickly, then you're using it wrong and you're using too much of it. This is just a little medical measuring cup. There's what, tiny little, 1/5 of a cc in there, whatever that is. So no, you'll be fine. Danny says, how do you clean them after? Put them in the thinner, wipe them down. I'm never gonna get to this. You guys are real chatty today. Usually you guys leave me alone. Don't ask me any questions. Okay, so I'm just putting in the thinner and I'm wiping backwards and I'm spinning in rotation to maintain the tip. And then I store them horizontal. You can store them vertically. If you don't use them very, very often, you're probably gonna have to go through a little bit of like a solvent cleaning, soap and water once or twice a year if you want to, and don't fumble in the paint. Not a good idea. But yeah, that's basically all you need to do. Okay. Megan, no, Josh, no enamel thinners, boys. None of them. Just, I recommend not. Go to odorless thinners. It's a different, higher quality thinner. You'll feel the silkiness between the two. I don't recommend enamel thinners, but they're very much stronger for this kind of work. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here and kind of bolster some of the opacity and some of this stuff, because I got to get something down on camera today before the session ends. And we should do like a big Q&A session one day. I'm gonna go a little bit wetter, juicier. I'm gonna get a little bit aggressive. Stop being quite so tilted. Hold on, dude, you're like right in my eyeball. Hold on 1 second. Let me move this. I gotta move him over a little bit. Hold on. I'll just physically move it up for you guys. Such as live streaming. Up there. Yeah, there's very few chemicals in this regard that you need to be worried about evaporation in terms of it, using it up and you're not getting any value out of it. If you work smartly with this, you should be able to maintain this pretty good. Here, hold on. Going backwards. No, wait, hold on, come on. Have to get a little bit better. Okay. Just like right in the grill. Okay, so all I'm trying to do is just get a little bit extra kind of opacity to the dirt at this stage. I've got some initial stuff going. I've got a story I've worked on over here. And you can all go back and watch those. If this is brand new to you, I'm not going to rehash the whole thing because we're never going to get done. We're never going to get anything done today. And so the other thing that I see a lot of guys do, if your palette doesn't look like this, then you're not working the oils properly in terms of what the advantages are of this over other systems. Other systems taught you for 20 years now to put single color applications to use. I need more gray. And what I mean by that is if in the day, and I did this for a decade, so I'm experienced with that. If you have all your bottles of enamel stuff in front of you, they're all single color applications. Yes, you can blend them up on your own, but that's a labor-intensive process. With the palette right here, this is really quick and intuitive. And what I'm trying to do right now is just get a little bit more of a gray earth dust that I want to put onto this. I'm working with 5 or 6 different colors at the same time. And what that does, same thing as the conversation when I put the pigments in together into batches, is instead of a single one-color pigment, you've got 4 to 5 to 8 to 10 to 12, depending on which color batch you use. The same thing with the oils. I have a range of depth here that I can control and alter as I go. So I can go from this lighter yellowy dust shade into a grayer shade almost immediately and on the fly and as I need to do it. And you're going to be, when we talk about references, this is the kind of point of where you kind of look at what the colors are in the real world and see what you're trying to do and then kind of work it out through here. We've got a kind of a rotational piece back here, probably going to be maintenance and lubed. You can look at Churchill if you need to figure this out, so that you're going to have different colors from different maintenance, from the earth, from the use, from combat, from the time of year if it's winter and you have low humidity to the time if it's a rainy season. You have to start factoring all this into your conversation with what you're trying to do with this. Here I'm just kind of demonstrating the process, so I'm not getting super hyper specific, but this is kind of where my headspace is at when I'm sitting down trying to do this stuff. And there isn't really like a hard right or wrong answer in terms of how much you put down, what you're trying to achieve, so on and so forth. And part of the problem with demos and live streams is it's hard for me to, showcase a full-blown model from start to finish, in some sort of linear process because of the questions and what I'm trying to teach and stuff like that. So I don't get super hung up on that too much, but at the same time, what I'm trying to do is kind of illustrate the various processes to give you guys the best amount of information, because you got to do all this stuff in the hidden areas too. So that would be to things I'm seeing wrong thinners. The biggest thing I see wrong with oil paints, or the use of oil paints in this manner, is single color application. And I've even heard it portrayed as, hey guys, now you don't have to mix because you got this color here. And that is counterintuitive to the entirety of what oil paint rendering is about. And what I mean by that is, when you extrapolate out the story of a machine, unless you're at Duxford on Tankfest, there's very few scenarios over the life of a machine in the field that's going to just be in one range of tones for whatever it is: dust, dirt, grease, grime, food spills, coffee spills, whatever. Even the paint itself will break down and oxidize, especially the matte paints, especially in the harsh chemical environments like the middle of the desert. So what you're doing now is you're pulling in the level of realism onto the surface. I'm not going to get into this. Go back here. Like way hiding in here. And so what you do is you end up with your base colors, with the chipping, with the roadmap, and then with its specific location. It's like, for example, up in here, this is the fuel cap that I added. And so I've got, old calcified dust and dirt up in there. Got oil paint on my hand for some reason. And then I got and you can see that back in that stream when I did that too, but that was kind of the same purpose of, this is the fuel area, so you're gonna have a lot more staining here, and then you're gonna have fueling over time. You're gonna have, he fueled on a Monday. If he went 2 weeks of combat, he fueled again probably on a Saturday, and probably 3 more fuelings over 200 kilometers, if you will, for a tank. So those kind of things play into this in terms of what you're trying to achieve. Well, the oil paints give you both the transparency up through the opacity, so you can create the age of the story if you want something a month old, 2 days old, etc. And Jeff says they also hold their shape if you let them dry with the paint on them. You mean the tip of the brush? Like the stream, remember. Thank you, MF Doomer. White Spirit Olis works best. Liked. Okay, John Linford. Hello, sir. Now you guys are all, I can tell it's all quieting down. Everyone's listening, which is good. So that's kind of the headspace here for what OPR is. In other words, your palette should really be looking like a mess. It really should be an amalgamation of the colors that you're trying to put into this. And all the colors here, this is just relating to both the color of the model, it's sand, and then the space in which it's operating, which is a desert. So those are why those color choices are what they are. I'm not using my yellow, reds, and pinks on this because that's not part of the makeup of this. But on, say, something like this dude here, which if you all recall this guy, the Desert Cromwell, which is in a SAS Desert Pink scheme, you can use a different range of colors because you can see over here that they'll start to pull into this. And so you need to blend and work in all these colors to get the depth of the oil paints out. Otherwise, you're just replacing enamels one for one. And while that's okay in terms of toxicity level, or no odors, and it's easier to deal with, you're not really gaining anything from that in terms of elevating your game. Hopefully that makes some sense. It may or may not. And don't sweat it. Practice, practice, practice. Okay. So what I've got here, where's my this brush? A lot of verticality on this guy, which is nice. You're seeing a lot of the water speckling emission we did in the previous episodes. That's what these little guys, little tide marks. I'm guessing the inspection team isn't coming, by the way. So it looks like a no-go in that. They probably rescheduled till after 3, which is nice of them if they did. So see on the palette here, it's a little blurry, but what you see here is now that's a much richer tan color. Well, I've got this kind of grayer color over here, so now I'm just going to put a little bit more kind of this dirt color back up in here. Oops, a little speckle of something. Speckle's your friend. Speckling adds a lot of depth to this stuff, to your work. Machines flick stuff around constantly, even on aircraft, propellers and whirly stuff. What the fuck do I keep dropping shit? I'm a clumsy mess over here. That's because I'm on the edge of the table. Get you guys up over here. Get out of my way. And I've got my sleeves down. And oftentimes when I speckle, come back in and knock a few of these down. So see how right here is a little bit more of a gray shade, and I got a little bit more of this yellow sand shade? By adding that, you start to visually, your brain starts, the viewer, you start to correlate that into kind of the age of the machine. It'll be more visually it'll become more visually interesting to the viewers. So I don't want every little speck and stain to be super opaque. Work back up to that. You can kind of tickle and diffuse some of them to kind of spread out a little bit like they would in real life. You know, if a moisture stain hits a matte surface, you know, it'll splatter and then it'll kind of diffuse itself out over time. If it dries fast in an arid climate, or if it's wet and rainy over time, maybe the next day if it's cold, you'll have that too. Oh, see, that's why you tape it down. So Boomer, there you go, brother. That's how you waste your stuff. Knock it over. Don't go. I've got a crowded workbench over here today. That'll evaporate out. Yeah, have paper towels at the ready. Come on, get off of there. Get more paint. I need more paint. And when it's too translucent and too wishy-washy or nothing really happened, then just load up more paint. You adjust everything between the paint and thinner ratio on the brush. So again, it's your volume control. So if you want a dry brush, for example, if I want to switch and go the other way, if I have, where's my dark one here? So I've got my dark brush here, as I mentioned before. So you've got this worn edge up here that's already dry brush, but I can quickly show you. So there's, you see how, no, you can't actually. There you go. So you see how dry that brush is in comparison to kind of what I've been doing with this dude. This guy's a little bit juicier, what I've been applying here. So by using your paper towel and absorbing that thinner out, you're left with more of a pure paint. Okay, hold on. That's not gonna work. Technical difficulties today. Hold on one second. Yeah, it was just a quick spill. Now nothing sticks right now, so hold on, let me get this out of here. Well, we got technical difficulties. Hold on 2 seconds, I'll show you how to fix this. You can see the tape here. Nordic full fusion next time, yeah, well, let me switch the music for you too. Get that guy out of here. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Effing, you know what. Get this, oh, this tape's not sticking. Hold on, guys. Pain in the butt. Now I need it to dry so I can put new tape down. Will that stick? Okay, thank you. There it goes, okay. But just for first, this is just the double set, dude. Cheap shit. Live streaming issues. David, there he is. Question: when OPR is completed theoretically, would you not need to go back and final pin wash? No, it's all put in. We'll get into that too. Misunderstanding terms is probably the other huge one in this hobby. It's just brutal. Just brutal. Walk back through it again. Okay. I need a little bit more of a splash because I dumped out a shot. Yeah, that's about how much I use anyway, Boomer, so it's no big deal. I mean, it's a little spillage of half a shot of thinner. We will survive. We will suffer the consequences. Okay, get that back over there. Put you back over here. Okay, we back in biz. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, this is still trying. Actually, let's do this before that sets up. You can see that evaporate out. So see how that wetness is starting to dry out? The purpose of the hair dryer is to really kind of defeat the tide marks where you don't want them. Like in that case, I don't want that one, but I don't mind these ones because the real world splashes will do the same thing to that. So you don't always have to get rid of tide marks every single time. If it suits the story and the theme, you're going to be okay. Darth Rust says, add some epic tension. Does it? I can barely hear it in my head. I got the sound so low, but I will. Yeah, I put a whole shit ton of music in here. We'll switch it up. Oh, yeah, sorry about Miss Phyllis. By Con Air. It is always brought to... One of these days, Jeffrey, Con Air will reach out. And then my neighbor's playing some music next door. she's got stuff going on. We don't ask here at RSP. We live in a community. Okay, back in it. And I'm actually pretty happy with all this, even through that little fumble there. And the reason is what's happening is now the depth of this section through here is starting to kind of come together, because this is going to be a trapped low pressure zone in terms of, when you look at like the back of the fender on a car, you get a low pressure, air pressure zone. Well, what that does is a lot of the dust as this dude turns, pulls back up into here, and this is a good spot for it to really build up over time. Same back over here and stuff like that too. And then you can enhance up here as well on top of that, which we could do. You can kind of hear this, huh? All right. Well, this is like feel-good music now, isn't it? I can kind of just hear the piano. So now I'm mixing a little gray, just give a little tonal variety, so I'm not always in the same exact colors. You can get as aggressive as you want, but I don't want to overdo this. I want to maintain kind of a nice visual appeal to the tank too. See how I drew that out? So I'd applied the color like right here, and it looks like crap. Don't worry about that. Just kind of walk that back out. And you have a residual paint on the blender brush like that, and you can kind of tie that whole section together. So that's kind of like how to get kind of a description of a little streaky area right through there. And then what happens is, you guys have heard me talk about this before, that's actually a combination of kind of a filter and a pin wash. But what I've talked about before, and specific to that comment, was the actual paint color, the original OG spray color that you're doing, is your middle value. And so you're always going to have a light and a dark if you treat all your paint colors that same way. I'm talking the airbrush colors. Those are your middle value. If you treat it that way, you'll have a way to kick it down into a darker tone, and you have a way to brighten it back up or lighten it or fade it or add this kind of effect to it. So that also gives you a little bit more power, because if you see what happens here is this area right here, by not weathering it as much, that richness of that darker part of the paint starts to contrast out because I've added lights around it. So you're building up kind of that visual. I don't always go for this isn't like a contrast conversation, but that's the end result of when you play up your middle tone or you play up your paint color as your middle value. So you can see up here I've got kind of a dry brush for the darker edge of steel. I've got the dust down here. But this tone here starts to read differently because I've added in darks and lights around it. It's another part of this. There's a list of, please, that helps me a lot, guys, if you do help those guys to locate that in the description. All the information you guys need is in the description, basically. Size brush best for the oils. My prime brush, Matt B, has always been the premium. Whoops, we'll get on camera. This dude. Which is here, the 90-20s. This is the M handle, which is kind of the short fat handle. They called it for miniature handle. This is the other one I've cut off. This is your normal handle. I just chop it off so I don't bump the camera. We all remember those days. But the 90-20 is the code, and the -2s. It's all in the description down below for you. I say main brush and blending brushes for you guys. And you have a little stipple brush dude, which I should probably do a little bit here. Yeah, I'll change the music in a second. That's way too happy for this. So see how I kind of stipple around that and kind of diffuse that. It'll dry, and watch what happens when I diffuse that edge. Same up here. Now you always have a lot of time with oil, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to panic. here. Do kind of like a bleed runoff right there. So all I did was tap that down, and that leading edge of that bristle, kind of pulled it back as I kind of tap and pull backwards. And then clean off that bristle, because what will happen is you get the paint build up and then you start transferring too much paint. So you do have to, that's why the paper towels are a key part of this. And if you have different areas that you need to blend, you can kind of use the different blending brushes for the purpose. And when you're not filming, it's a little bit easier to maintain your focus on where you put stuff and where you did. So this is what I mean by section by section. Section by section. Sorry if my hand's blocking the camera here. I can probably carry some of this over this stool. This stowage bin. I do kind of like these little dust water runoff dew marks a little bit too. Yeah, it's just a little bit of variety to the. Some of these speckles dried a little bit funky, so you come in and kind of diffuse them. They're not fully caked in yet, so if you're working in the same session where you've got older work from 15-20 minutes ago, you can still kind of work with stuff. And all I'm doing is just kind of stippling a slightly wet brush in there. They'll kind of diffuse out some of those tide marks a little bit and tone them, kick them down a little bit. And this is a good time to kind of dry everything off. So the drying is a key aspect to this, to be honest with you guys. It's very, very important to dry this stuff, because as you can see with pigments and oils in particular, you know, the wet to dry colors change. You know, sometimes fairly dramatically, not too much, but so you see here where I've got kind of this grayer calcified earth on this intake area. You could play up a little bit where that probably changes color from maybe a little bit extra heat here, and this might stay a little bit cooler, so the earth may not change as much. We should do another airbrush giveaway. Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate you. Hey, Coach Tim. Okay, gotcha. See that question? Hey, Mike. Any comment on the reactions you got in the last video? I was waiting for somebody to say that. No. Do you feel your message came across? Any follow-up thoughts? Probably not on the stream follow-up thoughts, 12 Birds. My message came across to the bulk of everybody. I think those that disagree with it are, and I'm not trying to pick a fight. You know, let's clarify that right now. If you're gonna defame and deface people and go for defamation of character, you better come at me with a lot more than what I'm seeing. You know, that's one of my reactions to that, and I think that's the shallowness of some of the reactions and the misinterpretation of some of the reactions is extremely unfortunate and immature, and I don't have anything else to say about it. If you want to come at me face to face, knock yourself out. But in terms of what the message was, is to push. We're stagnant, stale, and I'm not trying to remove myself from that conversation. That wasn't what that was about, but you know, I've been doing this, what we talk about here, in a teachable aspect, so I'm not in comp mode. And if you are, we're stale. That's all that it is, 12 Birds, to be honest with you. There's a lot of same, and I think one of the things that nobody talks about in this hobby, again, this will piss people off, but it's like you can't say this any other way, so it's like you can't avoid it. But Facebook has done more damage in terms of extrapolation of information, because there's all these little, you know, kind of I don't want to say fiefdoms, but everybody's got their little power struggle with Facebook, their little groups. And what happens is the claims of echo chambers is actually quite real on Facebook. You know, that whole thing. To the point of what I was trying to make was we used to come through the forum as a funnel. You know, we'd be moderated as adults. We'd come through the forum as a funnel. And so the interplay of ideas was a little bit more linear. And today, everybody's kind of got their own sense on it. It's the same thing with OPR. There's so much misinformation today after 12 years of this, even with my teachings, like when I'm talking about like single color applications, wrong thinners, it's all been discussed at length. So it's kind of like, what are you listening to, or what are you reading then? Because you're not paying attention, and that's something that, you know, that's not on me. So it's kind of like, well, hey, you need to step back, and if you're going to say people aren't giving people credit for something, you better step back and do your homework on that one. So there's some things, 12 birds, to be honest with you. I think some of the finger pointing or the character assassination attempts is like, that's not what the video was for. You know, I get the production delays piss a lot of people off. I mean, nobody's more mad than me, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean it's not true. And I think a lot of people forget that. You know, it's exhausting. There's also that too. But I think what happens though is I think the reality is, if I had anything to say, it's the fact that they didn't say it first is pissing them off more than anything else. Truth is, I saw it immediately when I was a judge at the show. This isn't observation. This isn't me looking at photos or something, or this is, dude, I was one of the top lead judges of that show, and I saw it in person. So that should play into this a little bit in terms of, this is not hearsay, this is not conjecture, this is not me sitting in Portland going, hey guys, what the F are you doing? No, I was there. I was the dude there. I mean, it's like, you know, and a lot of the guys that are talking about stuff, they weren't in the conversations with us as judges with the head judges and stuff. We had conversations with the head judges about what we were looking at. So yeah, this is not some made up whole thing. This is just, I think what's happened is, between Facebook, social media, and everything else, it's flattened the level out across the board. It's why you see me talking about this a little bit more specifically today, because I'm trying to hit points that I was seeing on the contest table. Single color applications are huge. I won't get into varnishes today, but you guys have heard me barking about this for a long time. I saw, say, in the neighborhood of 70 to 90% of the models on display were varnished. And it shows. It shows when you stand in front of them. You lose all the nuances of sheen all the way through, and guys aren't tuning into it because they just like, you either think I'm nuts or they don't see it themselves. And that lack of acumen is concerning, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said, but it's not going to be a ton of follow-up past the fact that if you're going to have a debate about it or a healthy conversation, which was also happening with the judges in that aisleway there, on that stuff, it was a very healthy conversation, and we all kind of were in agreement of it. Was like, okay, well, you know, what do we do about it? And I thought about it for days about that. You know, it's cycled through me for a while, and what's the best way to do it is it's to be the coach and say, hey guys, I'm not getting the best out of my players on the field, so I got to teach it better. That's on me, and I'm fine with that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that opinion is invalid because of my book production problems. So there's a little bit of that. My stuff got called too shiny. Yeah, there's a few things. Yeah, and there's a lot to it. I think Aussie Stew is. I don't think my message was convoluted. I don't think it was. I don't think it was unclear at all. I mean, you guys know that. I mean, the coach persona is because of the sports analogies. I've been using the sports analogies for years and years and years. You know, the variables at which we play with this stuff, it does mimic what we do in terms of athletics. You know, you have to practice this stuff. To take Mission Paint, for example, who was skewered by the same people who are trying to say, you know, innovation will come or whatever. If you try something and it doesn't work, and the male psyche in the hobby is a lot of that, you'll hear this often. I hear it all the time. I heard it at the show. I can't get it to work. Then it's up to you to put the time in, the patience, the discipline, the acumen. And many of you guys have known we've been back and forth for years now on when stuff isn't working right for you guys and how to fix it. And I failed on a coaching session the other day with the hairspray thing in Mission again. But I turned right back around and we fixed it. And that video is actually going to be coming out pretty soon. And it was actually this piece here. This is all Tamiya hairspray chipping. This is all mission models shipping over here. But a lot of people on the circuit aren't seeing what that is. And some of the stuff that was awarded higher than stuff like this, which is, if you don't know what you're looking at, that's a very soft abrasion of the orange over the yellow, percolating the yellow from below. The way it happens in the real world. And there's a few pieces in that show that were just, nobody saw it, because they're over here with it's the lacquer crowd. So there's also the lacquer conversation. And you guys have heard me go off for this for a while, but I didn't want to get into it too much today, but I expected it, so it's okay, and I need to sit up and take a little bit of a break anyway. I don't care if it's elitist 12 birds, to be honest with you. I don't care if people perceive it to be that way. I don't. I think that's a child, immature way to look at things. If you listen to the words that I say, if you listen to the impetus of what I'm trying to do, it's to help. It's what that push is for. If you're a paycheck player and you've been running the same routes in the field for a while now, you're not getting the best out of yourself, and that's what I'm seeing in the hobby. It's the idea that what is the challenge? I read my books, and to be honest with you, before the coach persona, just read, there's page after page of me saying, to get the best out of this, to challenge yourself, to practice this, to the whole thing is, it's all been there for a while now. This shouldn't be a surprise, and it's not a surprise to a lot of people, to be honest with you. And that's, I don't really care about if it's somebody perceives this as elitist. It's just somebody has to say something. We keep waiting for these guys to. They're the ones at the tip of the spear of, all of that. Well, I'm not hearing it. I'm not seeing it. And the result of all of that is the staleness on the contest table, because no one, and this isn't about a young punk coming up with a technique. That was also way over everybody's head. You all think it's technique based. No. Were we moved? Did the models make us think? A lot of it was just kind of, you could see it and move along, and you didn't come back to it and really study this and pull stuff out of it on as a grouping. You saw that all over the show. You see it on the internet. So no, I don't think it has anything to do with that. But I'm also, I'm strong opinion. I understand. I know a lot of people don't like me. I understand that too. And that's not, again, that wasn't factored into this. It wasn't about that. It wasn't anything like that. It's just, what is the legacy of what we're trying to do here in terms of the importance? And I'm talking, that's why I kept saying to the competitors out there. That's what I actually was talking to. And I think that also was kind of lost in the sense that it's an attack on people's skill sets. And no, his techniques has nothing to do with that conversation. The quantum grouping of skill sets are much higher than they used to be. I mean, I could even debate that if I wanted to, because I'm not seeing chipping today anywhere where it was, people forget, Hairspray's 17 years old now. That's not like it's a new thing. And I'm still not seeing the power that should be being pulled out of it by some people. And so there's a lot to some of that stuff, but I don't think the technique conversation had anything to do with what I was trying to get to. We don't need an innovation in techniques. That wasn't what I was trying to get about. We don't need some quote unquote young punk to come in here. Phil wasn't young. I wasn't young when I did OPR. Age has nothing to do with this. Marin's not young. He's been doing this for 20 years like this, So yeah, there's some things, but it's a testy hobby. It's the edge of the world. We're edgy today and all that. I mean, there's some other stuff going on. Hey, and I didn't monetize it. I mean, no offense, and I probably should have, but I mean, my pissy little 5,000 views. It's still a nothing video on YouTube, but it's my biggest watch video of almost all of them, for the last couple of years for sure. So it's kind of one of those things where. I don't regret saying anything at all. I stand on the words of, I think we need to push. I think we need to stop coddling each other a little bit. I do think the hobby has turned quite a bit soft with that. The sensitivity to that just kind of reinforces that for me. What I'm looking for now are those that are hearing those words and take the bit and go with it, even if they're mad at me. Use that energy to push something out that's going to be out of your comfort zone. That's an important task. I mean, I can switch and pull in Gunpla right now if you guys want me out of my comfort zone. I can pull an aircraft right now. I mean, I play with other stuff, and I see other guys trying to do that. It's not, it's not an armor thing at 100%, and I appreciate the guys that really try and play with the different genres, because what I think it does is it actually balances you out a little bit better as a model builder. It gets you to think about things, because you treat a skin surface differently than you treat, armor plate. and then you treat a joint differently on a robot than you would treat, you know, a hub on a tank or you know, an axle on a truck. So there's a lot of things about the greaterness of how to move out of your comfort zone and work around different things and try different things. You know, I'm a big fan of that. So, but a lot of people are sensitive to it. You know, there is the whole thing, and I've been criticized heavily too, and it's okay. I don't have a problem. I know where my work stands. Like I'm not worried about that. I know where the Brumbar is. So, you guys want to see the Brumbar? I mean, I think the Brumbar has to be studied. So, you know, again, being late with all the production stuff, of course, but to be collated into that, that's a tough one for me to deal with, because I felt like I should have said something about what's going on, but at the same time, I knew I was going to get the heat for the book stuff. So it is what it is, right? It's like take it on the chin on that one, you know. But that's well, no, Marcin, in the YouTube world, 5,000 is that's a blip. That's what I meant by that in terms of what that was. You know, most of my videos are, you look at like some of the big hitters on YouTube in this hobby, and 20,000 a day is normal. So that's what I mean by that. But yeah, no, I mean it is. I'm hoping that, you know, it's kind of shaking the tree and see what fruit comes down and see what we get out of it, you know, and that'll be fun to see. Hey, to be honest with you, I think the worst thing I did was I was so crazy tired. I just came off probably the wrong way, because if you've all been here for a long time now, you know I'm pretty excited about all this stuff. You know I get super pumped up and motivated, and, you know, Jimmy Jammers and everything. Back when we do all this, like how fun this is, I think was probably lost in my video. You know, if there's a criticism for that, for sure. I totally agree with that. In fact, it's hard to watch. I'm like, oh man. And I'm like, no, get some rest, bro. That was pre-dawn. I don't know if you guys all saw that. You could see the kind of the sun come. It was like pre-dawn, the whole jet lag thing. But it was also very raw and very honest, which I appreciated for it too. I look back at that and I said it was still pretty honest all the way through. I don't regret if people are mad about that. Anger is good if it's constructive, you know, and I do respect that. But a lot of it was misinterpreted in terms of the op-eds and the other pieces that you saw being written about it. A lot of it was misinterpreted and or just a simple character assassination. So I disagree with that part of it. Good boy. Oh. All right. Back to happier news. 12M. Hello, sir. It's cool. It's a passion. Yeah, it is. And we're all passionate about it. I love all that part of it. I mean, trust me, dude. The show was awesome. I mean, how this ever turned into something again? No, dude, SMC is amazing. Like, what the F with that whole thing? Okay. Yeah, that's just like whatever. Good times, though. Go down in flames, boys. Okay. Let me get this up and running. Hold on 1 second. Don't do anything yet. Hold on. Hold on. Choose a live stream. Armor weathering. Okay. Let me type it in. Hashtag whatever, #68 for the 68. Start collecting comments. Okay, go now, please. There you go. So hashtag 68 for the Trigger Style Gaahleri Advanced Series GHAD-68. And I meant that in the video, guys. I meant it with love, and that is lost on a lot of people. You know, there was never any animosity on my part to say anything that would piss anybody off as a friend intentionally to those guys that were mad about that. But at the same time, if we were in a closed circle of guys at a bar and it was all those same groups of people, and I punched them on the shoulder and said, come on, man, I need you to fucking push, bro. You've been doing the same thing for 10 years, and it's awesome, it's beautiful, it's amazing, you're at the top of the game, but there's more in you. And before you walk away from this, let's see if we can find it. That's what I meant by that, in terms of, while you guys put in hashtag 68 for this guy, that's what I meant by that. I meant that in absolute honesty, even to myself. I mean, the things I've done with the Brumbar. So somebody said, hey, is that even a risk? Let me put it to you this way, in another way. The lacquer crowd is massive in the hobby, across the board, top to bottom, left to right. It's a huge group of model building community. I just made a book that is basically non-lacquer whatsoever. As a product, that's a risk, because most of you don't use that paint. And I'm discussing things in SM04 through a process order of primer, paint, chipping, camo, whitewash, all the way through as a fluid process. It's not step by step. It's not one chunk of this, one chunk of that. It's a very fluid, interactive process. That in and of itself is radically different than almost anything that we've been talking about in publishing world for 20 years. Now, you've seen it on videos because I've been teasing that and pulling that into this to get that going through. You got another minute or so. We'll go to straight up 2 o'clock, and then we'll run the thing through. And I hope the guy's not named Mike. Yeah, and I mean, there's a second conversation about the health quality of the community, of the greater hobby community, and it's not a lie to me, dude. I take it very. I've had things die around me: animals, pets, friends, family, cancer, left, right, and center. And carcinogenic chemicals spraying at your bench is a bad idea, just plain and simple. And Mr. Paint, to be specific, is one of the worst caustic carcinogenic chemicals that you can think of to spray openly in your room, or even with the mask on in a automotive spray booth with the full suit on. And I mean that true. It's that bad, and guys literally don't want to hear it because it's easy and mission's hard in that context. But you guys, hopefully, it was okay. you guys crack me up. Let's see here. Somebody named Mike was. Well, I think the Jeffs are going to get mad at the Mikes if that's the conversation. But this would be, hey, to 12 Birds and everybody else, if this was or what's the word, like a TED Talk thing or something like that, or like a panel, and there was a number of people up on this panel, and we were having this conversation, it would all come out very differently. And I understand the video in which I presented itself is caustic to some people to begin with, but if it was presented a different way, if we had that like at a national convention situation, this entire topic is what was missed in terms of what are we doing today versus where are we going to going with all this stuff. And that was kind of one of the main things I think was really lost in the crowd that really started to clap back at everything, because it wasn't crapping on anybody. I mean, it's even think that is, I mean, like, okay, there we go, because I think it's the name associated. If it was somebody else, I think it would have been received probably quite a bit differently. So there's a lot of different stuff about it. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Marino. You look at, so for example, I come from car design, guys, if you don't understand that. I come from the generation of coming off the 80s and 90s of automotive design, and I went to school for almost 7 years in terms of elitist private education in automotive design, transportation design. I was trained by some of the best designers in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in the automotive field as a student. And we talk about this kind of stuff all the time. In fact, there's a gentleman, he's probably passed away, I haven't talked to him in many years. He was older when he was teaching us, but Harry Bradley is a General Motors designer from the 50s and 60s, and he worked at Nissan for a minute. I think he did the Nissan Q. So it was kind of a soft, rounded 90s, early 2000s four-door Nissan. I think it's called the Q. The Q45 was the Infiniti. I think the plain Q was the sedan. I'm old and I forget all this stuff, but he had polio and he was on crutches, and so he'd come in and he lived through some stuff. He lived through World War II and Vietnam, and but he was a stout character, strong-willed, as good designers are. And he didn't teach us automotive design. He was actually your visual communications teacher your freshman year in college for this. And VisCom is what we called it, but VisCom is your drawing class. It's your rendering class. It's where I get all this from. And he would give us a homework assignment, and in that school and in that time frame, late 90s, you had his class on a Monday, every Monday, all day long, 9 to 5, just like you would do at work. And it was kind of a vocational training program that they had, where it was a design degree, but you had this kind of thing. Okay, you guys ready? Everybody in? Okay. Okay, we got the draw, 63. Here we go. And let me see, whoops. There we go, sorry. Oh, that was torture. There you go, Metal Pig. All you, brother. Marcin, you came up a shot second. Oh, man. We got one more to give away. I have a 98D to give away. So Metal Pig, email me, tankart@me.com with your address details. I'll sign the box and get it off to you. I'll have to bust that seal. Actually, I'll do the edge box so I don't bust the seal, so it'll be brand new when you get it. There you go. But congrats, guys. I appreciate everybody really going for while you're listening to me ramble on about nothing. Got something on my teeth. But anyway, to Harry Bradley, we'd come into class with our homework, and it was a drawing exercise. And oftentimes in the beginning days, it was just drawing a sphere, just drawing a cube with graphite, which is charcoal pencils, and it's a real mess, and it had to be perfect drawing. And if he didn't like it, he would walk by on his crutches, and he would take his crutch and rip your artwork off the wall on the ground. and you had to stand there in a room of 30 students at 20 years old, you're humbled pretty quickly. And so I'm not trying to humble anybody, but it's the same time is we need to put forward some sort of effort towards the future of this hobby in terms of where we are, because yeah, skills are high, techniques are good, etc. Tools are great, airbrushes are great, paints are great, across the board. Is that next thing? So there you go. Okay. We good? We good on all that? Everybody all right on that? What's the email? Metal Pig, tank art. You can go to my website too in the description, but tank art, one word. Tank art at me, the old Apple one, me.com. And you can find me. You can contact me through the website if you don't have it. Either way works fine. And I'll get that out to you. Okay, so back to task at hand. It's a lot. I get it, guys. I'm not, it's fine. We're okay with that. I think at the end of the day, we're all grown men. We're all, and we're all, the dust will settle. The good and the bad will kind of even out, and then we'll get back to work. And I think good stuff will come from this. So I'm okay with that. It's I've just said it before. It's emotion. It's mood. It's make the viewer feel something. And yeah, techniques are an important part of that. But yes, it is story, but a lot of the stories that I'm seeing today on the models are obvious. A lot of it is like an obvious thing. It's or a cliche, to put an example, but not to be negative about it. But if you have an old truck with a light blue hood and a white door and a green bed, the first thing we said was this is a cliche because we've seen this kind of dramatization of abandoned vehicles with that colorway, and so that was something we talked about. And that's what we mean by it's not chipping, it's not pigments and this, that, and the next thing. It's how you combine this into having something that will get guys to think about what's going on here, to bring a viewer back and to really say, oh, I love what he's done there. What's going on with this? Or, to put a corner of a French house and a Sherman tank on a corner road, in a villa, we've seen a lot. And I'm not trying to be an asshole here. That's not what that is. But there was nothing unique with so many of those like that, especially on that side of the aisle, with a lot of that. And like, look at Peril of Lund. What is it? Why did he win? Not because he scratch built the whole thing. That's so secondary. You guys miss all of that. Everybody, well, I scratch built this. Okay, then we should have an actual award for that because the barking at that was as loud as I've ever heard it before. Well, Peril of Lund scratch built the entire thing, but that's not why he won. His execution was excellent, but it moved you. You went in to see what was going on because you saw stuff happening there it caught your attention in some way, shape, or form. In that case, it's a giant creature about to kill those whalers. That whole thing. And so he took something that he had put all this research and effort into, and then of course he made it. But at the same time, why did it win? It's not because of that. His resin pour, it's excellent. It's wonderful to see, but it's because it moved you. The crowd around that is because we were so anxious to see. Sure, we want to see the wood turning that he did, and it was beautiful. That's not why it won. Otherwise the Japanese Zero should have beat everybody at the show. But what did the Japanese Zero lack? It's the polished 32nd or the all metal 32nd scale one, which is amazing. It lacked emotion. It didn't move anybody. It was so perfect in its perfection. It got it the award that it deserved. But at the end of the day, did it shift anything in the hobby? And I don't think it actually truthfully, honestly does. We've seen this a lot. There's an astounding amount of that kind of technical expertise today. Especially with all the aftermarket companies that can facilitate a lot of that stuff or research and 3D print, all the stuff that we know about, but did it do much to move that needle of what you felt in here? And at times you're like, wow, that's effing great. But when you walked away from that, were you left with anything? And I mean this in all honest, heartfelt sincerity. Were you left with anything when you walked away from it? Because I tell you that the burnt out Yoo-hoo that was sitting right next to it, to me was a more interesting piece. It was probably grossly overlooked. Because to get that out there, to do all that, to stretch that long fuselage out in 32nd scale across that flat base like that, there was a lot of stuff happening there. So it's kind of this, where are we going with stuff in terms of our identity and I'm talking at the top level. I mean that also, by the way. That's what I'm talking about, is at that top level, what's moving that needle of emotion around a little bit? What's moving that needle of what I look at as innovation, put something down that I can't figure out. That'll get me going. That'll get the noodle running. And I know you guys need me to do this stuff, but this is a good conversation. No, it's good question, 12 birds, by the way. I mean, I'm not trying to fight anybody here, and that's not the point of what I was doing. So, but to do that, to move somebody, and I think it's war-torn modeling. He's the first guy in a long time. He did the F4 30-second scale with the bombs dropping off of it. I think he moves you with that because everybody's doing amazing Tamiya fandoms and all this kind of stuff, right? And here comes this dude, and he's fucking completely left field of in-flight and that whole thing. And yeah, it's somewhat obvious too at the same time, and there's going to be copycats for sure, but if it moves you to get you to think outside of your comfort zone of what you can do a little bit differently, then that's what I think we need to start having more conversations about. That's kind of where I'm going with that. Maybe that was better. Is that better? The effective dimensions of the work, am I correct? I don't know, 12, I think you're reaching 12 birds too. I think you're not understanding at a point of what it is. And maybe I need to do a comparison piece. An example would be, here's a good example, and I'm gonna have to you guys trust that you can go to the gallery and find it. So go to the Missing Links gallery on Missing Links website and click on the Allied gallery. And go down and look at everything from a guy named Cheong On, A-H-N, Cheong, Korean guy. Look at all his Shermans. And that's 20 years ago. And then look at what we see on the table today. And you'll see what I'm talking about, is that there's something to the work that brings out a feeling. And that's it's going to be a little bit esoteric. I get all that. A little bit artsy. I get all that too. But that's what I'm seeing is kind of design is real pure. You look at automotive design today, it's just repetitive forms. Nobody trying anything, outside their comfort zone. So it's a lot. Look at cell phones. Is another great example. There's literally nothing to tell them apart anymore. Because the brands don't even care. Even brands that are trying to do their own thing, like Nothing out of the UK, looks exactly like an iPhone. I mean, it's just nobody's even trying anything. So look at fashion, music. We see cyclical stuff for sure. And so this was just an impetus to say, hey guys, come on, we got you. I know this isn't negative, but let's do this. So that's kind of where maybe that helps out. Probably makes it worse, who knows. But how are we as entrants supposed to know what moves the jet? Well, don't play that game, Jim. So that's another thing of advice I see a little bit. It's a big mistake in my opinion to build for competition for appeasing judges. You're never really going to know all the time who's judging what and when and where. And that's a huge risk if you're trying to play that game part of it. And that is part of the comp mindset. Don't get me wrong. As my advice is, I'd say don't. You're going to come at something much fresher if you're not trying to move a judge. Don't worry about that. Worry about nailing something. We'll respond. People will respond. Trust me. So hopefully that. Let's see. There's a lot of comments. I've missed most of it. I tried to hit your conversation as best I could. 12 birds. I did. To be honest with you. Let's see, Nick. Okay, did we get that? We'll do another giveaway here in about 20 minutes. So remind me, Jeffrey, 20 minutes, everybody. We'll do another one. Yeah, I think for me, the excitement is those listening, they're gonna reach in for something, whatever that be. But also, I should reinforce the efficiency of this was actually really nice and fun to do, because even while I'm chit-chatting and getting sidetracked, that little 15-20 minutes of demo work to do all that, to get that kind of situation going where I'm just kind of briefly coming in with some colors to do a little bit of dry. Oop, there we go. Look at that. Okay, get back to work. We good? So when you're on an edge like this, I'll switch gears real quick. It says this brush starts to dry out. Let it get dry, and then, see these little scuff marks happening? Light to dark. Oh, I got the hiccups now. I probably should change the music. The music was all like inspirational flow. I don't know what all these songs are because they just have like random names. But yeah, and again, to everybody, I don't have a problem having an honest conversation. Thank you, Brian F. Yeah, really, really cool. I don't have a problem having these kind of conversations, and I don't have a problem bringing it up in the way that I did, to be honest with you. It probably wasn't the best of the best, but I think it was important to be done. That's what I felt like when I was flying back home, like somebody has to say something. And it wasn't so much like an ego thing, it was just nobody is. Nobody was, and nobody is going to, unless I kind of, rocking the boat was a little bit of it, but it wasn't the purpose of the video. It was really to kind of get people to think and to spark and ignite a fuel within you that, moving past all this stuff and bottles of paint and airbrushes and stuff like that, to think harder about what it is you're trying to achieve. Play with perspective, play with angle. One thing I saw that I didn't, and here's a couple other ideas that might help. First off, I actually would love to see, and I've talked about this with some other guys, a category for collaborative work. I think it'd be great to see a collaborative category where 2 or 3 guys work on a piece together. I think that'd be great to judge that as it is. I think the hobby could really use it, because what happens is, I think if you can get some collaborative efforts going, that will also spark some fires and ignite stuff over the course of time, because you're gonna have a kind of a creative team effort. And maybe it's limited to like 3 to 5 guys, and they compete in like 2 different categories, kind of just basic stories or just basic, whatever it is. Don't get super hung up, but I think that would be a great category to add to shows. I've done it myself, where somebody builds something, say somebody is great with base work, somebody's great with figures, and then come up with something that's really a bit, it's oftentimes a lot for one person to tackle, right? And all that too. So I think that would be something. Another thing is, and this is just up to shows that either want to do it or not, but so you see me here with the see how the surface changes. One of the things we fought with a little bit too was more of a technical thing. I actually think like a judge's like cart that we could put a model down on that had its own separate light at times would be better than trying to bring it down onto to the other parts of the area. A little bit of trouble with that. When you get bigger shows that get really crammed in there, it's hard to kind of, as a judge, it was a little bit hard to kind of, we wish there was a little bit more kind of flexibility with viewing some of the stuff. Some of that is kind of a challenge. When you put something down in a comp setting, most competitors know this, but you're limited in kind of your point of view. So if you built something real even all around, this goes back to, I think, one of his early works with color modulation. But if you remember the KV1 with the soldier, that was like a shadow box idea. Nobody tried anything in terms of contained processes like shadow boxes or perspectives, or the one guy that did would have been the W-29. No, it's the biplane one, not the 29. But it was the World War, next to Parallels, it was the World War I in flight with the Felix Stowe in like a small scale, like I think 1/144th, and then chasing behind it was the larger German float plane. Like playing with perspectives and scales, I think a lot of guys could do that a lot more and really push something out of that. There's other things to do with that too. Same with aircraft. Same with the other models, jet fighters and other stuff. Because if you went through the aircraft stuff, it's 90% of a plane on gear. That whole thing is also that there too. You out, Robert? I've tapped you out. Okay, good to see you, brother. I'll see you alone. If you're right in the middle of a building model, when you go on a major tangent and come back to the paintbrush, you might have just the right condition. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. Yeah, it's dried out enough, but that is kind of, well, I can talk that through. Trying to get like, this would be a ledge that would be, either scuffed sideways, or the crew, if they're using this as kind of a stepping stone. Oops, don't go backwards, just go forward. So just simple light to dark. I'm just using kind of a darker brown, kind of steel color over this. I think this is a split right here. Hold on. But see how the bristles of the brush act like little fingers at this point? So just kind of let them dance across that surface there. You don't have to do a whole lot more than that. But I think overall, 12 Birds and everybody else out there listening is, it can be as healthy of a conversation as you want it to be, and I think that was actually, more to the point. And I think that was somewhat lost in the greater context of everything. But I don't mind if things get a little feisty either, to be honest with you. So I'm okay with that too, to maintain the sports analogy. Sometimes you got to fight for your position on the field a little bit. So I'm just kind of dancing this, and some of these colors there's a little bit still slightly wet, so some of this will kick back down. And I'm just letting it flick across the surface. I'm not trying to paint directly too much. There's a little ledge here. But this is see how this is effective? The reason that is because I put that light oil down earlier. You know, like for example, see this crease here along this edge? And this is why that effort to go light to dark really becomes important, because you can kind of come in there and do things like this. Because now what I've done by simply kind of cleaning that edge off is I've aged this dirt now, so that you know when you see this intrinsically, the age of that particular dust stain in there is a little bit older, because now you have a cleaned off part of that. So that would be like a for example. And also, because there's so much to kind of reference this here, I have some of these other older chipping marks and scratches in the model as well, kind of over the time of the build and everything that we've done here. A key aspect to that is try to get a lot of that stuff. That's why you see me do it as early in the model building process as possible with the painting, is get these marks in there, and then as you weather them up, what happens is, and this is one of the things I saw all over the place in terms of like, hey, what would be something to focus on? Again, not meant as a criticism, like as a negative, like you suck or anything of the sort. It's just pay attention to this because it does have a certain impact. If all the chips on a model, whatever your skill set is, whatever technique that you use, if all the chips in the model have kind of the same imagery to them, oftentimes, and I saw this all over the place, aircraft, armor, everybody, the chips tend to look like everything happened in like day 1 or day 2. And then there was no variation of age, like I've said before, where if it happens on April 1st, what does it look like on June 22nd? And then what if you got a scratch on like May 24th, and then in July 5th, what does it look like? You know, think about things in that regulation of, if it survived through this period of time, then start to do stuff to it early, to where by the time you're done with it, you now have a variation of the story within it, and that will come through to the viewer. We'll pick that up. But when all the rusty chips or all the scratches, everything kind of has the same veracity, color opacity, all that kind of stuff. See how I've aged this rather large bolt scratch to the side that if you go back in time, looks like it's really stark and out of place, but as you weather that down, it now calms it back down. But I've got a little bit different kind of tonal quality to the edge where it appears, so now I've got a variation in time. And that's what true weathering's about, is applying the variations in time over the life of that subject, because you're capturing it as a photographer in a moment, but you have to build into the point of, how did we get here? How did this all get up in here? You know, how did this wear and tear happen? How did all this happen? It doesn't occur in a few days. It doesn't occur that quickly. It has to be built up over its usage, whether peacetime or wartime or whatever it is. It doesn't even matter what it is, you know, to be truthful. So that's something that I think is, when you see this stuff up close in person, you know, with eyeballs, you know, on the contest table, I saw a lot of it where it just looked like it was all painted in like a day, or a representation of that. And that's something I want guys to really start to think about as they process this out. It's why you see me put chipping in so early in the process, and then come back in with, you know, things that I'm doing with the brushwork later on to build off of it. So I have a foundation, and then I create that arc from there. So it's very efficient in that way. And then you can pop in a few reference photos. Okay, that's where I'm going with that. I need dustier here. I need a little bit stronger here. You know, then you get kind of familiar with the use of the vehicle. And that's kind of, I hope that helps too. But what else? You guys are still chatting? I missed a ton of things here. Okay, 10 more minutes. We'll do another one. We'll do the third airbrush. Marino says, glad someone with the platform did. No, again, I think it's good for everybody. Question: painters for judging first time, what the motive should be? First walk and look and pick some faves. Oh, yeah. If you're pointers for judging first time, my apologies, I didn't read that correctly. Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be, there's going to be your instincts with this. There's going to be your, actually, I'm going to pull this off of here. There's going to be your instincts with this to go through and see everything first. You know, what's it look like, and kind of gauge. And I did that over time. I did it over the first few hours and kept coming back. And then as we got to the actual judging time frame, you know, you tighten that up and start to kind of think about some things more specifically. So, yeah, it comes pretty natural, to be honest with you, when you do that. And you'll have your fellow judges to work with too, and that you'll have some guidelines. Armor Man, it depends on the show. in terms of adding comments from a judge. I've done that. We've done that with some online contests here in the last couple of years of online judging, of giving full comments to everybody. It's a lot on a judge to do that, by the way, but yeah, it kind of just depends on the situation. You know, what top level shows, they may not want that as much, whereas maybe the regional demographic shows that happen more regularly want that more. So definitely, it just depends. And also, if you're a competitor and I had a lot of guys grab me. Don't get me wrong. I mean, tons of people like, hey, can you know, what do you see on this? And all different categories. I went through most of my weekend that way in terms of when I was in the room. That's actually why I wore the hat, so people could find me, you know, for that part of it, because I'm happy to share that. I think a lot of judges technically are. We usually do. So, you know, it's always on point, and always just, hey, do you mind giving me a few tips or advice on what I did or what I was going, what you see in this, etc. And then you can you'll get a raw vibe in the moment, you know, they get kind of a thoughtful response over the time too, you know, or they'll kick you out. Get out of here. Question, have you ever tried using oil brushers? Not yet, David. Feisty in the American way. Yeah, absolutely, Northern. Question, have you ever tried using oil brushers? They're shorter dry and can be problematic in OPR. I have not, David, because I don't use anything from AK and ammo, to be honest with you. I think it is more of the single color application process. It's designed that way, it's built that way, it's built into the system of what they're trying to do. They don't build it into putting it on a cardboard pallet, so it will act a little bit differently. You'd probably have to just move smarter, faster, and quicker. I've not seen a reason for me to shift to that. So again, I don't use them, so I can't. I have heard that, David, but I don't really use them enough to know that actual. I've heard that where maybe there's not enough linseed oil in them or something like that, or not as much. Get this out of the way. All right, Brian, you're up, brother. Black armor. Before I forget, because that's what I was worried about. It was a sidetrack of the conversation. Okay. So I have a piece here. So I've had a request, what I'd like to honor, because the person has been supportive in that regard in terms of, hey, he really wants to do 40K with what we're doing in terms of scale model conversation. So I'm gonna do some spraying here. We'll get some color down. I'll walk all the way through this for you guys. I'll show you what I have here, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do, and then we'll walk all the way through that. I'll do a 98D giveaway here on the end, we'll probably go to almost 3 o'clock my time, about a half hour or so, if that's cool. Another thing, folks, protect your neck brace, for instance, take more. Yeah, I do. In fact, I have upstairs, I'm pointing to my closet, pull-up bar. You know, stretch your spine back out, and after I do, you know, all this back here, I'm pretty good right now, and I've lost a little weight, so it's not as bad. But definitely, vertical movement for your spine and neck will help you long term. It takes the stress out of you'll get a lot of eye stress. That's why I have got new reading, you know, 3.0s here. They're like Coke bottles. Let's see. Bryce says, I can't really explain it, but your video about SMC, even though I don't compete, really motivated me in some kind of real goal. And yeah, no, that's, hey man, that's honestly what a lot of that was for. To be honest with you, was to really go, baby, go. The age thing is spot on. Eyes are going bad. What happens if the judges want life? Something nearly factory. It's okay. So Panzer Dan, a good question. Actually, a good comment. To judging. At least I'm conscious of this, and I think a lot of judges actually are too. I would say collectively, it's a bad idea to judge somebody's personal style. So if they like a certain painting style, judge it within the parameters of that painting style. And I, for example, would be one of the famous diorama builders in the early 2000s was kind of critiqued pretty heavily in the judging category because it was much more of a Verlinden style look to it. And I don't think that's truly fair to somebody if that's their personal style in terms of what they're trying to achieve. So you judge it if it's a factory fresh, and you're going to judge it throughout that. Although I do think you're probably in a heavyweight competition, you're going to have to come up with something special in that regard, which would be something more along like, if you're unfamiliar, but like GBWC. If you go through kind of like what those guys do in the gunplug community to make something impressive, which is oftentimes what they call a clean build, which is basically what you're talking about. You know, like a parade vehicle in armor combat or like a Mayday parade, then it should be, try to extrapolate out something from that. You know, something, whether perspective, you know, mount that thing totally differently. Don't be afraid to switch up your base mounting. You don't have to always put it flat on a plate. Make somebody like freak out over something, like, why is it vertical? You know, do something if it's going to be outside the norms of, say, kind of the contemporary weathered conversation. and that's play with colors. I mean, I haven't seen anybody try black and white in a long time. Proportion composition is a big deal. There were actually a couple really good pieces of composition in the show in terms of vignette and positioning and stuff like this. It's a little bit harder with standalone for sure, but play with, kind of, everybody kind of puts it a 20-degree angle on a base. Play with some things, try some different positioning, try some different altitudes of your bases. You can go vertical, you can do other stuff. One of my guys did this really cool cylindrical plinth, but at the top was kind of the road work, and it was, instead of being a square one, it was a cylinder. So you can just, simple things will really go quite a ways. If I went white on my base, and look at how different it looks. That part of it. So there's a lot of stuff that you can play with if you really start to just broaden your idea and look at other areas outside scale modeling. Like look at museums and presentations, and look at, really study artwork and sculptures and some other. Instagram's full of that. It's perfect for that stuff. I mean, you can kind of get lost in it. It's a rabbit hole, but those will give you some fresher perspectives on stuff. Play with monochromatic stuff. Play with almost like hyper desaturated paint jobs. Try something that is either maybe object source lighted or lit in terms of, what you see in the minifigure painting world. Try that with armor. Really push something crazy with that. And I like I did, I don't know if you guys remember, but like my Sotheby, the hand painted illustration style, where I intensified all the colors on the front of it, and on the back of it, it was almost just basically completely muted out, just like an illustrator would draw it on a 2D to try to emphasize to the viewer the things closer to him and stuff like this. There's a lot that can be done. It's just nobody's trying anything, and that was kind of what I was really starkly surprised about. Everything was a tank with the dude on it, and like that was like the whole thing almost. And I was like, so I don't know what to say. I think the Spider-Man comment was like, I felt like I had to say something almost. I couldn't not say something. So that's part of what I mean. But again, you don't hear me talking about chipping or paint or anything. That's not what I meant. So, does that help, Panzer Dan? 412. Okay, I gotta get going. Okay, we're gonna go full black. Go back. You don't go back. I don't need primer. I'm gonna go with paint. Do I need anything else? I gotta go. I gotta use the bathroom too, by the way. So. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of a warm black. So I'm going to do a neutral tan black airbrushing. So I'm going to paint this. I'm going to take a quick nectar break because the coffee's going. Hold your thought. Yeah, the inspector there. Okay, sorry about that. Mother Nature called. Okay, I'm back. We'll do this, dude. Okay, I'm gonna spray, and then we'll do the last giveaway. So what I have in front of me, that piece there, so we're shifting gears at a tank armor into kind of 40K armor a little bit. This is actually a Kotobukiya brand from Japan. This is a Gunpla shield, or like a robot shield, and I've just painted it up for various purposes over time for demonstrations in my coaching session. I missed a lot of comments, so I apologize for that. Again, just keep asking the question and put question. I'm trying to catch as much as I can. You guys are really on point today. Yep, I can't wait to see some sci-fi. Yep, you got it, Florian. X-Wing stuff. I'm trying to get everybody. Making Warhammer tanks is really okay. Sweet, Dresden. Okay, sweet. Okay, this will be great. So the purpose of this was, per request, love to see some black armor painting because it's a popular colorway. And maybe I'll do like a strong blue or strong yellow in future stuff too. We'll keep moving, inching forward. Nick, I don't know if we'll do rust to this onto this stuff today. To another guy asking for stuff, I don't know if we'll get to that. We'll see here. I'm running out of time a little bit. Yeah, but I mean, you know, color theory is a huge part of what I do in terms of like painting and dealing with this kind of situation with each project. You know, I'm trying to manipulate my colors. I personally manipulate a lot of the colors so that each project in a certain genre doesn't represent what I just did in the same genre, because I do a lot of, say, German tanks with whitewash and or the Allied stuff. I try to really give myself maneuvering room so that my display or portfolio has life and variety to it within and of itself as a model builder. So I do play with that. That's kind of another way to look at things. If you have a specific, you know, thing that you like to do is to look at that from how do your colors shift across, say, 4, 5, 6 different projects in that specific genre. And you can play with newer factory, you can play with older derelicts and abandoned stuff. So yeah, there's a mess of stuff to be done. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't know where it's hiding. It's a harder one to find from him, but Adam's KV-1 that is impacted, and there's, I think, the one German soldier on the back, but it was all POV. You know, POV is a great thing. Take POV to heart, you know, or it's like you only spoke, it was kind of a shadow box, but I don't think he built anything around it, but it was kind of, and he photographed it a specific way that you're really supposed to look at it from that point of view. Like, force people to do things for you. It sounded bad. Okay. Don't take that advice. Okay, black. Put that. I'm gonna kind of warm it up a little bit with some tan, light neutral tan. I just grabbed something real quick. What's on the shield itself? Things that we'll get into in the future for sure. There's a lot of other sidebars happening with some of the stuff I've been working with. Here, I don't know if my boy, if there's 2 people in the world that know about this, but I think it's fun to share. I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with you guys for a second. We've got a lot of things to talk about, my friends. We'll get to it next time, I promise. Anyway, little teaser. So what's on here first? That glint. Actually, here, focus, my friend. Okay, there we go, perfect. Okay, so the glint that you're seeing here is actually Mission Models Chrome Paint, MMC. It's this dude here. If you're into this, it's a good color to have. They have brass and gold, highly recommend. Chef recommends. So that's the base layer there. It's over just a piece of plastic. I don't even remember there's a primer on that. I don't even know if there's a primer on that or not. And then there's a bunch of other colors, but the colors you're seeing here is actually Russian cockpit blue. You know, that kind of blue-gray color that they have. And then there's chipping back to that metal area. So your 40K boys. So just a simple metallic base. I'm trying to get the light to catch that just right. Right through there. And then it's just the mission chipping and the way that the chipping happens. So what I'll do is I'll pretend that this is kind of my underlay colors, and then we're going to paint a really dark, rich black on top of this. And then we'll wear this back away. Then I'll do some quick OPR for you guys just to kind of give you a little bit of a demo for that. Okay, did I put this in? Oh no, we're going to add more. I don't think I did. Still some, but everybody good? Did I catch up on everything? Did I miss anything? Did I help clear up some issues too, or some of the drama of what I caused? That's the way to look at it. Yeah, and I think if people look at a coaching persona as elitist, that's I think that's short-sighted, because I think really what is the core of what's going on here is really my end game is education and pulling the best out of you guys with a lot of this to get you to think a little bit further than kind of what you're used to with a lot of this stuff. And that's not a critique or negative. It's just there's a lot more in a lot of you guys for sure. Especially if you have hard day jobs or you're not an artistic endeavor to begin with. You know, this is kind of some of this is, you know, kind of foreign in that specific situation. You know, not everybody here is trained in color, so it's up to me to teach it properly. And there's you know, I do have, you know, all that studying color theory in and of itself, but color theory for model building, you know what I mean? That's a nuanced thing as well. But that's, yeah. But yeah, as a judge, judging people's personal style is, I tend to think as a little bit as try not to, you know, if you're a judge, try to be conscious of the person has a purpose and a reason for doing what they're doing. Okay, with mission stuff, you can go straight in. I don't need anything in between. So GHAD 39, okay. We might go a little long. I might have to push another 15 minutes or so. Actually, here, hold on one second. Because it's been a second or two. I just want to make sure. Get a couple drops of thinner. Okay, good. I don't need any airbrush shakeups today. Not on top of everything else. Okay, here we go. So it's kind of a really, really dark gray. Not quite a pure black, but it'll look black when we're painting. See, it kind of basically looks black. So line width size on airbrushing is really more of a distance conversation of getting right up on it and then all that kind of thing. So it sprays good. Okay, I'm pushing down for air, and I pull back for the paint, and I leave the air down, and I'm kind of just moving my finger back and forth with the air down. So what I'm not doing is that. So it's a continued flow with the air on, and then my finger movement here to release the paint. Here the air is always on. That's what I'm doing with that. So it's kind of I learned those from one of those airbrush artists on the YouTube about spraying paint like this. That's all my beautiful oil work. I'll leave a little bit of imperfect painting. So you can see that basically looks black though. I made all that paint for that. I'll let that dry for a second while I kind of get this out of the airbrush. Again, water-based paints, the beauty of it is just a little bit of water goes a long way, so I can just take my little squirt bottle here, just dump that in. Since I'm not going to use the rest of this, we'll just go as is. Flush it out, and then I've got my little thing of Q-tips here, my little thing of water. Just kind of bulk it out with the cotton swab. Just kind of get that out. Oops, I'm off camera. I get the little cheapy Amazon cotton swabs, Q-tips that we call them in the States, but you know, the cotton swab. And then pull the needle back. You can spin this out and then release the needle into that. Repeat that. And again, I'm just using water for right now. Just makes it super simple. And then what you can do is just a couple drops of thinner at the end, and then a little blowback, cover the tip, and just real gentle, just let that bubble up a little bit, kind of a chemical flush clean. And that's good enough for government work today. So that's pretty much for the next color, for the next spraying moment that you want to do. And then on this feller, see the speed of this is pretty good. It's still pretty wet. Winter time, you'll have that a little bit as it cools off. So the hair dryer does help kind of cure and lock the paint in a little bit. That's really nice. It's a nice feature. Plus it warms up your hands because my hands are freezing right now. And then what else did I miss? Any other comments? We got everybody. Explain how we entered the giveaway, Mike, please. Okay, Matt B. Give me 5 more minutes. I'll do a little bit of chipping, and then we'll do the next giveaway. And then I'll give you the code to put into the chat. You'll type it in, and then it'll generate a random viewer's name from that. It's a little piece of software that StreamYard does. It's pretty effective. Okay, so to put a little wear and tear and patina in this guy, just my little cup of water. This is super simple mission chipping 101. I just pick an edge, kind of take it easy to see what it's going to do. This is really fresh paint, so it'll probably come off pretty quick. Kind of doing a little bit of directional chipping here. get a little bit of that undercolor to show through. You can see kind of the wear and tear. It's kind of a chemical sand with mission, kind of a water sanding, more than a real hard chip. So every time I put in the water, I unload that. You don't want, it keeps the amount in control. You can see how wet that is. You don't want to really go too much more than that. And the reason is the paint itself is water soluble, which allows us to get kind of this really cool wear and tear. I'm gonna go for kind of a scratchy, like if this is the front of a, you know, like a Warhammer tank going that way. It's not exact, but it does have kind of the cool shapes that you guys use. You know what I mean? Like it's surprising how Warhammer-esque this little shield thing is. Your t-shirts, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for some merch. Yeah, I have a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things I got going on. A lot of irons in the fire. Printing, accessories, merch, moving into next year. I desperately need to update the website and get off of Wix and shift over to Shopify. It's a much superior platform for selling stuff in terms of online retail globally. So that is on my to-do task list. I'm doing that. We have some new partners coming online with us. Pretty excited. We did make quite some nice new business contacts in Europe, kind of global contacts, which is good. Part of the reason I went through all that was because I need to reestablish the company and rebuild it. You know, continue the rebuild. But you just have to keep in mind, dude. I'm by myself with my little bank account. You know, the finances are more brutal and tight in the last 2 years than they've ever been because of the things I've kind of had to fend off a little bit with, you know, fraudulent shippers and lazy printers, to be truthful. So it's not an excuse, and just, you know, we're working our way through. You know, we're on 7 books of 11 on the pre-orders. You know, RSP has delivered 9,000 books in the pre-order era, so you know, we are making some headway. You know, we have a few pre-orders left for SM4 technique guides and SM5 and 6, and we'll crank those out, you know, as soon as I can. So we are working away on that. And I am really happy with my second new printer. He's a stout person, believes in what we're trying to do. After 6 printers, I can smell kind of where they're going, and I think this guy's legit on point with stuff. Okay. In fact, we filed an on-file power of attorney with UPS, so we avoid the problems I had with customs going into Europe. So we shipped over the samples from India into Belgium as an American company, and UPS customs in Belgium was like, "What? What are you doing? Like, what is this?" And they held it. And while I was on the plane, I couldn't get it unhinged before the show started a couple hours later. So it was kind of a tough position to be in. Of which I do apologize for that, because we should have. I told him to. I said, "Dude, I need you to send me a couple books to Portland so I have at least them on hand." And he said, "No, we'll get them there." And he did. It just customs didn't release it, and that's always a bit of a bitch. Because it happened it was Friday. It was almost 11 p.m. Friday night when we got that information, and the show started at 8 a.m. on Saturday. So you couldn't even affect the change between a Friday and a Saturday morning to get it done. You know, that whole thing. Okay. So that's probably enough for at least demo purposes, just to get some kind of patina wear and tear. And however you guys in 40K world want to play with that. I mean, again, I'm not Canon. I don't pretend to be in terms of knowing that stuff, but after oils, no, they don't. I'm sorry, I don't see the question of that. So Steve Jones? No, not at all. Does acrylic lift off the oils up? No, it does not. It's all locked in. I mean, my Sotheby is in the closet over there, and it looks just like it was when I first painted it for SMO3, and that's 2016, 17. Yeah, no, you would have heard me, Steve Jones, say something about that too. That's all, the whole thing. We'll do a varnish decaling episode really, really soon. I promise you that. I owe it to somebody else as a favor for decaling, and I want to get this up on stream, because what we're going to do is we're going to have a real hard conversation. It will upset some few people. I will prep you for that on varnishes, how to use them, what to do with them, how not to use them, strength and weaknesses, pros and cons, decaling, not decaling, spray. We'll get into that hardcore, I promise. But for now, on this dude here, that should be just kind of enough patina to kind of get this moving along. What I was trying to say was kind of the undercolors. If you wanted to play an undercolor conversation up, Brian and you guys have. These Hanes could have been repainted or switched over from units, or maybe it was captured after a couple of the battles. Play up some simple scenarios. captured repainted unit. Jagdpanzer is kind of a nice way to play that if you want to, British Valentine in German service, it's kind of an idea. All those ideas, it can be a desert vehicle that is, repainted in forest camo, the way some of the modern stuff happened from the desert wars over to back to Europe, and they're repainted with greens over the browns, and you can play with some ideas if that's in your wheelhouse. That all said, back to, it's enough of this. Oh, my tape is holding it down. We can come back to this dude. So I'll show you just some simple. I'll stick with oils today. We'll do pigments again also in the future. Well, 6 printers over 11 years, Marino. Sorry, my bad. I should have clarified that one. Customs is told to say no, yeah. Do you still use Jesus. Attack of the airbrushes. Do I still, what, sorry, Florian? Do I still use, no. I'm 100% off of all lacquer products, Florian. I mean, as much as I possibly can. I'd say 99%. I did use a smidge of lacquer thinner on a Tamiya thing the other day, like a drop. Okay. Oops. Jesus. It's been one of those days. Just to showcase the flexibility. Just stay for 5 minutes, thank you. Okay, actually here, let's do this. Okay. Okay, so we got 2 down, 1 to go. Okay, guys, get ready. Oops, hold on, it lost me here. Do this. Okay, choose a live stream. There we go. Okay, hashtag 98. There we go. Okay, third giveaway for this dude here, 98D. Put in hashtag 98D, and we'll let that run for a few minutes while I get my oil paint set up. So this is, so the 98D is Gaahlerie's GHAD. 98D is a dual tip. It's got the 0.38 and the 0.5 mil inside, and it's their highly polished, higher quality machining, premium level. It's their ace. It's their best airbrush on the market today. It's a $100 airbrush. I have one myself. Mine's right here. Here's your 98D dual. You can see this is what it looks like, and you can see kind of that really highly polished chrome cup is a really nice part of that. We can compare it quickly to the, you can see between the two. So this is easier to clean, get a little bit better flow volume out of that, or veracity out of that for your airbrushing, so you can refine your spraying a little bit more nuanced. If you're, I'd recommend a lot of guys. 39 is an amazing airbrush for 40-ish US dollars, depending on how you buy it. Learner airbrush, workhorse. I mean, I use it all the effing time. No joke. I use it almost every other day for sure. And then the 98, I really kind of hone in and use it for when I want to get in some a little bit more nuanced and controlled things, like tighter camo and doing some stuff like this here. We didn't get to the Hetzer today. I'm sorry about that, but it was on the previous episode anyway. But this is all 98D hand airbrushing. All this is 98D hand airbrushing, etc. So, or most of it was, I think. But anywho, yeah, hashtag 98. My bad. Oh my shit, my bad. Did I do that wrong? Yeah. Hashtag 98. Don't put the D. My bad. I'll give you a few more minutes to put a new one in. Just hashtag 98. My bad. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you guys. I was talking about the box art with that. But just, yeah, hashtag 98. Yeah, apologies. I'll give you guys a few more minutes. Let me get this set up. And while you do that, okay. Back over here. Stick to the tape. Okay, there we go. Okay. Give you guys a few minutes. Hashtag 98 for this dude, not mine. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get a brand spank. See, it's their sealer tape, their no tamper thingy there. That's one of their newer things. Okay, let's go to this. While you guys are doing that, since this is a fresh paint, I'm gonna put a little thinner down just to get some kind of. So pretending again while you guys do that, this is kind of the side of a Warhammer tank. Top here, front here, bottom here, rear that way. Just to give you an idea what I'm doing. Oh man, I'm an idiot. That's water, dummy. Hold on. Yeah, we need this one. Okay. At least I caught myself, right, before I really got into that. Those that know will chuckle. Okay, a few more minutes. Hashtag 98. Let me try that off real quick while you do that. Okay. How do I wait? Oh, I gotta go to this one. Okay. Okay, you ready? Okay, are we all good? Everybody good? 10 more seconds. Hashtag 98 if you haven't done it yet. I don't think the amount that you do it matters. I don't know how that works. I don't think it does. I couldn't tell you on that one. Okay, I'm gonna go. You guys all set? Yep. All right, here we go. Finally, the third one you can all see it work. Yeah, I'll get better at it. We have a lot more to do in the future. Fucking Greg makes, dude. I think he's won before on a book. It's okay. Greg has a magic touch. Congratulations, Greg. Well played, Mr. Atlanta. That's awesome, dude. Oh, boy. Okay. Well, thank you all for participating in that. I do appreciate that. But congratulations to Greg Mix for picking up the 98 on that guy. Let's go back to here. We'll shift gears. Greg, I've already got your information. I'll take care of that for you. He's one of my patrons, so I go. Yeah. They're always bittersweet, these. The giveaways, I'm always like, oh, God, somebody's gonna reach through the screen and strangle me. But anywho, back to this. Let's get some thinner in this guy. Okay, so let's try that one more time. I'm gonna be real simple, kind of like what you just saw on the Churchill. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel with that. It shows up how it shows up with the contrast of the black. Let's go. I'm gonna go real industrial here. So let's take our dust and dirt, and I'm gonna come in with kind of a grayish tan base on this guy versus kind of a yellow. I want kind of a real industrial kind of civilian dirt earth tone here. Just to shift gears a little bit from where I usually go. So first level is kind of a wet on wet, kind of a diffused dust and dirt. I'm just kind of doing real simple, just 1-2 punches on this guy. And then as this starts to kind of kick off, you can do a couple things with it. Where's my little Jimmy Jammer here? My little stipple Jimmy Jam. So I'm going to kind of stipple the edges a little bit, just kind of diffuse that. And again, you can see the efficiency of this is pretty stark. I mean, it's only, even though we've been chit-chatting too much, it goes really fast. So there's no need for varnishes or any of that kind of stuff. You can just go. And that's true over acrylics. Oils over acrylics, you can kind of just go. I don't want to get super streaky, but I want to put just a little bit in, just a smidge. Something off of this edge here will be caught. Switch up your brushes a little bit. So I'm trying to indicate movement. The front section is going to be cleaned up quite a bit. Just trying to. It's kind of both a sideways, and then there's also kind of a verticality to some of this. This is just the first layer. We'll kick this off now. This will lock it in and help us build upon it, build on new layers on top of that. I'll let the runoff kind of do its thing. Ooh, my bad. Don't do that. Don't go high. Don't get high. Stay in kids' school. Don't do drugs. Okay, so next step would be let's build upon this. I'm going to go a smidge a little bit lighter, a little bit less thinner, a little bit more opaque. Give me a little bit more tan into this. Just mixing a little buff with a light gray and a medium gray. Okay, a lot less thinner, and you'll see how much more opaque this is. Put that and build that up around places where it's going to get kind of caught. And you can see I don't really get into pin washes too much. I just kind of work with the panel lines as I go. It's the same basic principle, just I don't do a pin wash over the whole thing. That's probably the starkest difference between my work and most other work out there today. I think if there's another point of conversation to have is understanding the differences between single color applications and single step applications, like a pin wash or a filter, and then how I handle it, or how it's handled in OPR, and what you can do with it to come up with kind of a fresh take to that. I'm just trying to get a little bit of different looks in here. I'm trying to play a little bit in the 40K world, so it's just I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel too much. And working really fast is probably not my best job, but that's okay. But we got a long way to go with this. Oh, give me another 15, 20. So I'm just kind of working in my base light tones right now. Kind of my earth tones, kind of industrial grade dirt kind of situation. Tighten this guy up a little bit. I don't want that streak quite so strong. There we go, it's a little better. So with the Warhammer visuals, the thing that you guys fight or will be fighting with this is a lot of the details, the hinges, the bolts, just the surface detailing of it is kind of thick and bulky and overdone in terms of scale and all this kind of stuff. Josh Coffey, I think you did miss giveaway 3. We just finished up with the 98. Frank, I saw a new patron just joined today. Sweet. Awesome. Welcome, Frank. Thank you. My cattle are out on the road again. Got to go. Thank you, Mr. Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Nevadan. Keep them safe. Yeah, the third giveaway is over, so we had a winner. Winner chicken dinner. Gustavo Terron. Yep, nice one, Greg. Greg's won. I think Greg won a book back in the day, a couple years ago. My other one, Rick James. Cocaine is a terrible drug. Congrats. Have to go. Have a good one. See you later, Matt 58. Great episode as always. Have to leave. You got it, guys. We'll wind down here in a few minutes. I just want to wrap this up for the sake of for the guys in this world of what they're trying to do. Just get a little bit more kind of a little bit scruffier. I think the thing with 40K that you can explore quite a bit is kind of the intensity of this, given kind of the heavy bulk fighting and, the story arcs, but also taking in, like, what you guys want to do is, thank you, Jeffrey, that's really kind of you, is to take in, you guys want to put the realism and the scale model realism into Warhammer and stuff like that, is to understand that you're going to be a little bit crippled by the fact that the models themselves have not to be rude, it's a little bit of a toy-like quality to them, the thickness of the barrels and stuff like that. So I would recommend to a lot of you guys to really start thinking about how tank guys come in and deal with, just throw a little splatter down, how tank guys kind of deal with updating details like what you see in the Brumbar, new welds, new bolts that are kind of maybe tighter, smaller in scale, etc., stuff like that. Will be kind of useful. Okay, so with that one done, let me shift into, grab another brush. Let's go let's see here. Get this a little bit of let's go like a dark blue black. Kind of, come on, boy, come on. Get in the color, there we go. That's a real gnarly color. Like a cool dark charcoal blue gray. Right on my phone. So I can do a little bit of the pin wash conversation here. You can do a little bit of that. I don't want to flow it too much. And I don't want them everywhere, but I want to kind of layer this right up over that light tone. I don't really have any kind of hardcore areas for grease and grime. I'll kind of use these as like hinges that were maybe kind of lubricated a little bit. Kind of get a bit there. Come on, focus. Speckle, speckle, speckle. And you see, I didn't really go in for the heavy rust right away. I think that's kind of a stylized thing with 40K in terms of kind of how machines are rusting quite a bit. Plays up a little bit of the age thing for sure in terms of how long they've been in service. It's a bit of a different correlation to some of the tank stuff that we do. Just kissing the brush through that. I don't want to go nuts with this, but I want to kind of tighten up a little bit. It's a good spot to just good time to dry. If I can not film, I'm clumsy today. One little aspect here I can play with a little bit. How's it looking? So it's getting kind of grimy. It's getting there. I'll play with this a little bit here. So when you have multiple colors like this, so in this case we have kind of this blue with this kind of dark gray black color. You can use whatever color you want underneath, but let's come up over here. We don't really play with this too much. Get my blues up here. Get my blues going up here. That's a snazzy blue. I need to dull it down. I need to neutralize it, so let's pull our grays into that. Kind of do some color work with this too, if you wanted to. So it's not always pure dirt and grime. Is that in focus? I hope it's in focus. So I just apply kind of a wet paint, kind of over where the scuffs and scratches were that I did with the chipping part of it, and just kind of pull out some of that extra color. And then you can go the other way. I don't actually have any black in here, but I can go kind of that dark. I'm gonna kind of make a dark yucky color again. Again, kind of working around, kind of in a mapping concept a little bit. Just going to show you some quick little effects here. Do some quick panel separations, and none of the things I'm doing here is any different than what I do on armor or aircraft or anything or other mecha too. It's all kind of just playing up the same thing, but I'm kind of playing in the wheelhouse of what this is. And I do a lot of the stippling like this to get kind of a gritty look, that kind of feeling of kind of imperfectness. You know, I don't want it to have like airbrush looking dust and dirt. I want this to look like a pretty hardcore urban combat kind of situation. I'll get to you guys. I know a lot of you guys are probably taking off, so if you are bailing, thank you for hanging out with me today. Good conversation all around. Appreciate it. Appreciate the reasoning, and having a deeper conversation on the video. But I hope that it has the effect that I think was intended. Get you guys to thinking outside of the box. Actually, here, this will be fun. I will do it here. I'll just do a smidge of rust. So I'll get a little bit of my orange, get a little bit of my burnt sienna here. So let's see, get kind of the orange and kind of. I'll play this outer panel something else, but we'll kind of maybe rust up some of this here. Again, I'm just being super random and just kind of making shit up. there's literally nothing I'm trying to be specific with. And that warmth of that orange kind of just helps it without overwhelming, you know, without getting super powerful rust. Trying to keep it kind of reasoned and with intent. I'm sorry, I'm not paying close attention, but I'll pop up here in a second. We'll wrap up. We'll go final thoughts here in a kind of rusted up in that little junction there. We'll do a quick dry here. Trying to keep that kind of front motion a little bit. You can obviously do a lot more than that, but so again, just like every color scheme, really, it's kind of a light to dark scenario. You can get your pops of other colors because I built in that lighter dust tone underneath. Just like the Raiders. That's funny, Peter. Hello, Peter Stackless. How are you? Focus Creators, a great live stream today. Always appreciate your time. Thank you, Jason, for getting names here. Thanks, Mike. I'm out. It was interesting. Thank you, guys. Yep. Take care. Brian F. I found some great reference photos of the lowrider left turn in the sun. I've been working through the backlog. It's been a good project to really think about my techniques and understand the medium. Yep, and there's that. Got a couple sneaky pics of the Brumbar while you're overseas, Mike. Yep. Hey, Patty Cakes, how are you, brother? Good to see you. Long time. Hope you're well. I'm just seeing some names here. In the words of Vinnie Jones. It's been emotional, Coach. Yeah. Take care. Thank you, Steve Jones. But all you 40Ks, this is just kind of a super down and dirty, and I'll keep this piece handy, and I'll continue to do some work, probably on Patreon for you guys, a couple of you guys that maybe we'll circle back to this guy if I don't have to repaint him again. But I just kind of liked trying to get some sort of industrial vibe out of this versus say like a dirt vibe in the field, kind of coming up this way from a different angle. A little bit kind of different POV for you guys. I can probably rust up some of this other bits too, but maybe keeping this panel in maybe like a hard material or some other kind of alloy or something with a steel base or something like bolted to each other, playing up the shapes a little bit, whatever, trying to get into that. But there you go. That's that for the stream. Any final thoughts and questions, everybody? I know most of you probably bounced. Oh, there's still a number of you in here. That's a good stream. I appreciate all the giveaway stuff. I'll take care of you guys, and we'll do some more in the future for sure. I mean, Gaahleri is super promotionally based operation. They love all this kind of stuff. They were super happy to hear me suggest that because they keep sending me stuff, and I'm like, but I've already got stuff, so I don't, I'd rather share in that regard. And we'll be doing some Patreon special stuff for you guys too, with all the different products and stuff coming up as well. So they have, they get a lot of the first information and first crack at some of that stuff too. So if you're interested in those things, so on and so forth. Yeah, I'm exhausted. That was a good 3-hour push. I mean, so yeah, to the cleanup, we didn't get to the Jeeps and stuff like that, but we have stuff to talk about down the road. So cleanup, I just go through the thinner. Again, come in my brush, and I'm always wiping backwards. I want that to stay like that, so I'd set that aside. That's a paintbrush. I don't want that guy. Chipping brush. Nope, don't stick it in that dummy. Get that over there. I don't even think I use this guy today. A little tiny one. Looking forward to signing my Patreon subscription tomorrow. Sweet, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just November 1st, so it did kick over, so that we did have that. I would have done this last week, but I was flat out exhausted after SMC and stuff. So in fact, I'm just now starting to get back on sleep schedule. Jet lag's a thing, man. As you get older, dude, that is some brutal stuff. That really didn't expect it to linger as many days as it did. Going east is no problem. It's coming home west was an issue. Okay, so I'm just cleaning my brushes. And you can see I don't jam the brush in there. I kind of go on the side and use the side as kind of like a little bit of a grinder. I try not to damage the tip of the brush in the thing, and then come back in and wipe it backwards and spin it so that the brush has kind of a nice tip when it's done. And it'll hold the tip for a while. As it dries out, you know, over a couple days, it'll kind of splay out, but then it's ready for use. And that's how I keep these guys looking, you know, nice and crispy sharp for a long time. There's a couple newer ones in this one, but a lot of these brushes are 2, 3, 4 months old. There you go. Okay, what else we got? Let's see, did I get everybody? Just want to say goodbye and hello and adios muchachos. It was fun to catch a live stream. Michael R. It's like talking to myself over here. Yeah, a lot of my things say Michael R. on them. Greg Mix, thank you for the airbrush. Wow, you made my day. You're welcome, Greg. I mean, you're always here, brother. So, I mean, you know, Tommy McDaniel, hello, another great stream. Nick, we'll see you later, bud. Coming in the last minute clutch. 2 hands, always helpful, always useful. I appreciate you here. You know, Night Mike from UK, thank you, Matt B. Gordon Steinmans, thank you. Steemans, thank you. Jet lag sucks. It does. Just like having a hangover at 50 plus, dude. You're just like, oof. and I came home the day of, and I was like, man, I got to stay up till midnight so I get back on my schedule. Like 8 o'clock rolled around the first night I was home, dude, and it was like hit by a car. So, boom, done. But yeah, I'm gonna try to. In fact, for me, for the next 3-4 months, my schedule is pretty much fundamentally clear. So we should get back to a normal winter streaming, maybe a couple times a month, and then we'll throw in a Patreon stream as well for those, because I've added those into in the past. And we'll keep it going. We have aircraft, we have armor, we have mecha, airbrushes, paints. Oh my, oh me, oh my, galore. Yeah, great stream as always. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Marino. 2FS, Bryn, glad you're home safe, brother. And I hope the conversation continues. You know, I mean that honestly. So, lots to get done, right? Lots to build, lots to paint. Keep pushing us. That's what you're welcome, Corey. Run in the back and watch from the beginning. You got it, patty cakes. And yeah, catch you next time. I'm out. I'll see you guys. Thank you so much. Talk soon.